Hello, everybody. This is Battery Park City Committee of Community Board 1. I am Jeff Galloway, the chair. We have various committee members and guests and presenters in the room and online. We have one item added to the agenda, what you may have seen online. And it's the first one up, and it's a presentation on the annual Tunnel to Towers run and foundation event that continues during the day. And I believe we have Susan Starr here from Tunnel to Towers to present. Susan, are you in? I think, yes, I see you. So take it away.
Hi there. Good evening. Thanks so much for having us. I see a couple of familiar faces. However, for those who don't know me, once again, I am Susan Starr. I oversee planning, production, and logistics for the annual Tunnel to Towers New York City 5K. Also with me tonight is Stephanie Whitty. She's from our executive office. In addition, Lori Racca, who supports me on planning and the production front. So we're taking some notes. We're delighted to be here and have the opportunity to kind of pregame with you guys. As you know, the Battery Park Resiliency Project is having quite an impact on the area, including after 24 years, is having an impact on our 5K run route. So for the past 25 years, on the last Sunday of September, you have graciously allowed us to gather to retrace the final footsteps fallen FDNY firefighter Stephen Siller took on 9/11 when he ran through the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel with 60 pounds of gear on his back to the Twin Towers, where he lost his life, saving others alongside so many other innocents and heroes that day. This 5K run and walk honors and remembers all lost that day, as well as those lost since to 9/11 related illness, as well as in the global war on terror. I'd like to take a few moments to update you guys on where we stand as a foundation. I like to do this each year so that you can understand, allowing us to be guests in your neighborhood, what that allows us to do together and how you're a part of that. So to date, Tunnel to Towers has delivered over 1,700 mortgage-free homes to our nation's heroes, including catastrophically injured service members, as well as fallen first responder and Gold Star families. We have provided housing and support services to over 17,500 homeless veterans, some of whom were referred to us by some of your board members. So they're from the local area. In addition, we are blessed to be in a position to commit over $1 billion across all of our programs. I'd also like to point out that by keeping administrative costs low, we are currently able to allocate 93.2 cents of every dollar directly to our programs and services. So we look forward to the opportunity to present the full event plan at your August 25th meeting. However, for tonight, we appreciate the opportunity to introduce our proposed 2026 updated run route. We'd like to get your feedback on it, make note of any questions or concerns that you may have, and then we'd like to address all of that in full at the August meeting. So I will admit I am calling in from Connecticut. I do spend a lot of time in your area and am a New York girl, but we do look forward to working with you and understanding the full impact on your area, making sure that we address those questions and concerns, and some of those answers we may require the help of NYPD so that we have a full understanding and can make sure that we're all on the same page. I did send 2 slides to Zach. I don't know if we're able to share them, but I think it would be really helpful to see, if possible, side by side, what the 2025 run route looks like and the 2026 run route. Are we able to do that, Zach?
I can share slides. I don't think I can share them side by side, but I can give it a shot.
Okay. Why don't we take a quick look at 2025 and then put up 2026? 2025 is very complex, and we had done the same route for 24 years. So when we take a look at the slide, you'll see that we come through the Hugh L. Carey, and then we land coming off of the Hugh L. Carey Manhattan Side Tunnel Plaza, making a right up the northbound West Street, beautiful. And then we would head toward the river onto the waterfront esplanade via Liberty. So as you can imagine, this was wonderful 24 years ago. The run has since evolved. In addition, with the Battery Park Resiliency Project, we no longer can access the waterfront. So what I'd like to say is, I think like most people, I don't generally love change. However, I tried to look at the change forced by the Resiliency Project as an opportunity to adjust the run route to make things better for the community, as well as to improve upon the efficiency of the event plan. So Zach, if you don't mind, why don't we go to the 2026?
You got it.
So when we take a look at the 2026 proposed route, which I did not propose it, I did sit down with NYPD, my team and I sat down with NYPD First Precinct, Community Affairs, NYPD Traffic, and NYPD Manhattan South. So we could take a look at the run route and try to figure out what can we do. And I hope you'll agree, I think what they came up with is much neater. And I'll point out how for 24 years, there were certain areas you guys were blocked in. So there were residents that were very, very patient and allowed us to be there. However, we won't experience that this year. So the 2026 run route comes off of, that's great. So it comes off of the Manhattan Side Plaza from the Hugh L. Carey. We make a right and proceed northbound up West Street, a U-turn at Warren, and we land in the same place. Then we proceed southbound on West, and we land in the same place we always did. So it's much cleaner. It doesn't, it also doesn't lock people in. We had issues for many years over by River Terrace because we crossed River Terrace and we proceeded on Warren so that we could access West Street from the Esplanade. So that no longer happens.
The distance looks a little shorter. How are you making up the 5K in Brooklyn or something, or?
So the distance is a little bit shorter. It's not a sanctioned 5K, so we are happy to have the route and happy to be there. And we're not going to be making up the distance. So one of the things that was discussed is extending, in order to make up the distance, extending to Chambers. However, that would have had a tremendous impact on your area. And so that's why the turning point is at Warren, not Chambers. So the run route is a little bit shorter.
So how far is it exactly, or you don't know?
I, through Google Maps have measured it at 3. And it should be,
So the 3.1, yeah.
so it's a little bit short.
And it is a little longer than what Stephen Siller himself ran. Because he would have turned right in at Liberty to the South Tower,
Yes,
which is where he was that morning.
Yeah,
yes.
so it still keeps the purpose. This is, and you're right, it is a lot cleaner.
Okay, I gather, based on what you said, one of the reasons you want to present is to get comments and reactions. So far, what I've heard is positive, but let's
I
go
think
around the
so.
room.
See what other people say, because I do know we're still gonna, I mean, I guess. If we want to get out of Battery Park City, how do we get out? I mean, south, so Battery Park City south,
So same way or down Battery Place.
down Battery Place and get out on Battery Place.
But then you can't go north and west.
Which you couldn't
Yeah, there's-
anyway from the
there's
south.
only
You could go here to anyway.
Trinity
And you're
Church.
Liberty Street.
Yeah, right. And then to the north, we have to get to Chamber Street and then you're out.
But Chambers is closed.
No, it won't, is it closed
So-
now?
Chambers,
Actually, and it's, Chambers is closed now and it will be closed then, so you, how do you get out of the
Chambers is closed now?
construction? It does, down there, you're right, I was just there today.
You can't go around the back.
North End and Chambers, that's where the doctor's office is, that corner is blocked, that whole area is blocked off, right? So, I know no one on the TV can see me. Maybe Zach, put your pointer. But here, this like area here, this is closed. Because you can't turn, right?
Warren, there's a detour sign to take Warren.
So
That's the
you
last
can't take
turn.
north end up to Chambers,
Well, you can, if
but you
you
can't
don't,
turn right, you can't.
somewhere on that block, you're gonna get stopped.
I see, I see.
So I have a couple of notes from NYPD. Maybe this will address a little bit what we're speaking to. So I was told that starting in 2026, Warren Street inside of Battery Park City remains open to vehicles that want to leave the area via Chambers Street. So I'm not sure what's happening today, but community
Warren
affairs.
Street is open.
So
Chambers Street is.
Yeah, Chambers Street is not, Warren is open, but Chambers is not. You can't get from where Zach's arrow is to the West Side Highway and beyond. You cannot get east on Chambers at this point. You're blocked. Once you hit
West Street.
So,
from West Street, you're fine. Ish, I mean, there's places to go, but
let me just get clarification on that, because I haven't been up in that area in a while, although I do go up and down West Street, and I know people are turning right into Chambers
you're stopped.
from
You can't.
going southbound.
I was just there now, walking around here, and this was, we really basically did not want to go this way along North End, sorry, because this is all construction, and here it's construction.
When you say construction.
Construction is in the roadway. Forget it. There's pedestrian access to the doctor's office.
Okay. So-
Road is closed? Okay, I mean, construction, it
Yes.
could be open or closed.
Yeah.
No, there's
Just block.
detour signs. You cannot continue down North End Avenue beyond Warren Street.
Okay.
That, correct. So, I mean, so right now, I mean, that you can confirm or deny or whatever, but I did just see that today. I didn't explore it.
So
They
what
had
are
a
the red buses doing? I wonder.
They can turn down the road.
They go down Warren.
Road closes west of Stuyvesant School.
Yes.
Got it. Yeah, exactly.
But if Warren is closed,
There's a lot of stuff there, right? There's like a lot of equipment. I mean, it's.
Okay,
That's
so
right,
let me-
that's right. I got
Once
it.
again, let me get clarification.
Good.
So if I'm going
I'll
southbound,
just note that Dan Dixon from our
yes.
design team is on the line
Yes.
as well.
So Dan, speak up.
If he could speak up, say something.
Yeah. I'm happy to. Can you hear me?
Yes.
But first, let me ask my.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Question, sorry.
Okay, so today I was driving down West Street southbound, as I do from time to time. And people were making the right turn into Battery Park City at Chambers Street.
Correct.
Where can they go?
They can turn left or north.
So to my
Okay.
knowledge, yeah, if you turn right going south on West Street, I believe you can make it to North End Avenue and head south that way. And the opposite
Yeah.
would be true as well. So the North neighborhood could exit in this if this map is accurate.
So it's River Terrace that's blocked off.
That's right.
Right,
Yeah,
so-
you can't continue down Chambers west of North End and make that turn onto River Terrace currently.
And it's just the bend. River Terrace is open. It's just that bend that wraps around.
That's right.
Okay, so follow-up question. If I am on North End Avenue going north, can I travel to Chambers and turn right to get to West Street?
Yes.
Yes.
It's a sign saying you can't.
On North
They
End?
take down.
On North End or on River Terrace?
North End. I went there today.
Yeah, because you'll know
On
better.
North End Avenue at Warren Street, there's a sign saying closed, detour, and it has an arrow going to West Street.
We'll take a look at it.
Okay.
Yeah, let's
Yeah,
clarify.
that's news to me. That's news to me. But I know at the very least when Stuyvesant reopens in the fall, which will happen before this event, I believe, then that whole stretch along Chambers will be open.
And that
And
is just
two-way
to
direction.
your point. So with NYPD, it was First Precinct Community Affairs sat at the table with NYPD Traffic and Manhattan South. So I don't know how in tune they are. I assume they are very much so like you are with regard to the construction. But when they came up with this plan, it was definitely with you in mind. And what they looked at were multiple things. So they told me that they needed to stop it at Warren because they needed to keep Chambers open in order to eliminate deadlocks. And so that there would not be any deadlocks, certainly not caused by the Tunnel to Towers run. So keeping in mind, this run is the last Sunday in September. It's September 27th. And it starts at 8:30 in the morning and the street should be open by 2 in the afternoon. So I can't speak to the area construction other than the Esplanade, which I know will be out of commission projected to 2030. So I understand your concern for today. And you guys can think about it if it would be helpful. We certainly could have a member of traffic or community affairs perhaps attend the meeting on the 25th of August to look at where we are with construction and if there are any additional concerns other than that yellow line there. That's our run route.
Well,
Thanks, Susan. Yeah, we've had open communication with FDNY, and so I believe that's the case, Susan. We'll look into it, but it shouldn't be a problem.
Terrific. I don't want anyone to have any concerns, and nor do they. So they were really fantastic. I just really want to assure you that the plan wasn't made up by me. And that was one of the things that, like I said, it's an opportunity for us. I know that we've had some, we've blocked residents in, and I know that's been frustrating and everybody's been pretty fantastic about it, truth be told. And a few people had my cell number. I've opened the road a couple of times during the run to let people out of River Terrace. So I'm hopeful that this plan is cleaner, the street is wider, that we can finish up more quickly and get out of your hair more quickly as well. But I do know the construction is quite a challenge in that area. So it's possible there might be additional blockages that concern you while we are there. So if you let me know what your questions are or what I can do to be of help to make sure that we're all pretty clear about what will be happening at the end of September, and avoid frustration so you could have a lovely day.
Yes, that would certainly be helpful. Question I have, I just don't remember from previous years, for what period of time is West Street closed?
West Street will close at 7 a.m. and it should be reopened by 2 p.m. and it opens, we break down as we can. So it will partially be open in advance of that, but it should be clear by 2 p.m. We should be, it should be through traffic both directions.
And I know in previous years, there's been events, I don't recall last year this was the case, but there have been events on Vesey Street in connection with the run. Is that still the case, or is there an event, and if so, where?
Yes. So Vesey Street between North End Avenue and West Street, that's our street fair. So those are our concluding ceremonies. Also, we start to break that down at 2 p.m. and we should be off of Vesey by 6 p.m. So that's a street fair. It is in conjunction with our run, but that's not the run route.
Okay. Other questions, Mark?
Does that route toward the street fair impact the Sunday Green Market? Or the unrelated, or different areas?
Should be able to get the process. Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the north is open.
Well, there was the Green Market last year during this event. Does anybody recall how they coexisted?
I don't know. I didn't hear any problems, but that doesn't mean.
In fact, I have a complaint to make about,
Well, go ahead, Betty.
my building is right there on that corner, and I would have been very aware if the market was going. So it couldn't have been going at the same time. I don't know where it was, but it
Hold on 1 second. This was in town of the Towers morning. I believe it might not have happened that morning. It would be a coordination, I'll confirm. I remember dealing with it. Exactly.
But my concern is because I'm at where River Terrace comes around to North End Avenue. And to go from my building to Brookfield Place. All of North End Avenue is really closed down south of Murray Street. There's no moving traffic because the NYPD cars just fill the whole street. It's a parking lot. There was somebody who's off-duty NYPD who was there with 3 or 4 boys in a station wagon, and they decided to put in front of the curb cut. So I couldn't get in or out of my building, so I couldn't go up or down the avenue. I kept trying to ask him to please move forward, because he could move forward. There's nothing in front of him. And he refused to pay any attention. Well, somebody who was able-bodied went and stood in front of the car, and then he responded to them. And he pulled forward a bit, so people could go on the curb cut, including all the strollers that were backed up. I mean, he was letting nobody. Then when I stopped to let some other strollers come by, security guard for Tunnels Towers came over and told me to get out of the way because this guy wanted to back up and park in front of the curb cut, and I shouldn't be interfering with the vehicle's movement. Unbelievable. The security guard hired by Tunnels to Towers was there to tell me to move, because as a pedestrian, I was trying to get access to a pedestrian ramp to get onto the sidewalk. Unbelievable.
Betty, was that a uniformed, may I ask, was that a uniformed security? Because I'm
Yes.
curious I'd like to try to identify who that might have been. So that everyone on the board knows the security company that we use, GBK Security, are licensed and insured in the state of New York. Every one of them is a New York City police officer off duty, either off duty or retired. So they're not like, they're very high quality. And I'd like to try to figure out who might have spoken with you like that, because of course that's not acceptable. And I'd be surprised if it was private security.
NYPD as well, so I'm sure that was the whole problem. They all knew each other.
Yeah, exactly. An allied or another quote rent-a-cop probably would have been much more careful about you and your needs and let you go through.
Well, I mean, Betty, what would you like Susan to do to try to address this?
All they really do is train the security guards to say, not only do you not stop pedestrians who want to use pedestrian right of way, but if any car is parked there, you ask them to please move. Because like I said, this guy could move forward and clear the ramp, which he did. But he wanted us all to get out of the way so he could move back into, I don't know why he was so committed to being in front of the ramp versus in front of it, but he was. And he could be in front of it because like I said, the whole street was parked up. So even though he was pulled forward into North End Avenue, it didn't matter because that road was closed anyway.
So I think one of those messages there is that the security guards or cops should be instructed to make sure that they don't block curb cuts, because as Betty experienced, if they don't have the option, it's not a matter of just, oh, it's uncomfortable to not use a curb cut, it's impossible to not use.
Well, it was hard for the stroller. There were a lot of strollers. It was just lucky because there were a couple of people helping each other with their strollers and babies up and put it down on the sidewalk. There was no reason for that.
Sure.
And you
No,
can't do that.
I totally understand. I'm happy to address that. Once again, as I said, again, especially because it came up in this conversation, all of our hired security, they're uniformed. You will know it should say GBK on them. So I'm sure that what happened to you, and I'm sorry about it happened, I'm not sure it's our security, but I certainly will go back to them and make sure that I have that discussion. We know that, we need to keep the sidewalks open, and we know what code is that it has to be 5 to 7 feet, no obstructions. Of course, bodies may be obstructing, but we're aware of that. We're aware of emergency egress, and certainly check all of those boxes. So on your behalf and certainly ours, I will go back to security to make sure that our security guards are not doing that. And if there's something else you can think of that you would like for us to do, I'd be happy to address it, including giving you my cell number.
No, I think that's really all I was going to ask for was security guards keep the pedestrian path clear and certainly not stop pedestrians who ask the cars to get out of the way.
Okay. Thanks, Betty.
Good point. Yeah, and sorry for my confusion about the corners.
Yeah. Nick,
Just a quick point of clarification for the group. So yes, confirmed, last year we did not do the farmer's market on Tunnel Tower Sunday. We will again not be doing the farmer's market on this Tunnel Tower Sunday. That's as a result of the coordination between programming, PD, Tunnel Towers, et cetera. So
okay.
that Sunday is Tunnel Tower Sunday.
Okay.
And Nick, you guys, you and Dan and everybody will keep in touch with Susan with the construction, just in case something changes, or make sure that it's passable for cars to get out.
Anything changes that is currently unforeseen, we'll make sure we coordinate, work with.
Thank you, Susan.
Oh, thanks so much for having us. We appreciate it. We look forward to seeing you August 25th. If you think of anything in the meantime, please send it my way. If I don't know the answer, I will get the answer. And if something needs to be addressed, we'll bring all the right people to the table.
My only comment is with it being 1/10 of a mile, whatever it is, shorter, darn it, I should run it this year.
We
Any
would
little
love
bit
to
help.
have you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Susan. We'll see
Thanks
you
so
in
much, guys.
Contribute to your
Meeting.
donation is.
Yeah,
August.
right.
Executive.
Oh, we're not.
Okay, number 2 on the agenda.
President Jeff,
Yes.
are you filling out, because usually they come to Street Activity Permit Committee, which is transportation. Will that be done through the Battery Park City Committee this year, or am I supposed to still expect them to be back at Transportation Committee to ask for a SAFO
For this event,
for this specific event?
I know they're coming back in August to executive
Okay,
committee.
that's probably when they'll do it.
And I'm not sure whether there will be a need to come back after that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Cause the full board will be
That's right.
about the same time as the.
Because we squeezed them in now because of the change, right? We wanted to get an eyes on just to see and
For
how
the-
we can
for the-
digest it,
that's
yeah.
That's right, that's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, on to the next item on the agenda. I believe we have Laura Dodds online. The item is her report as independent environmental monitor. So Laura, I see you there now. So take it away. What do you have for your update?
Muted.
There we go. Okay. I was gonna say, I was trying to get myself off mute. Hi, everybody. So we did receive, the email from Tammy regarding questions that were brought to the CB1's attention. Looking for a response back from me and the BPCA. So we're working on that. There are an awful lot of questions, but we're preparing a response that will provide you back with just clarity as to our role. I can assure you that we are independent. For those that have worked with me in the past, we stand behind our recommendations and we will continue to put them out there. And we'll continue to support them being adopted, which I think will be the case for the project, because we've gotten very positive responses back from BPCA and also from Turner and SPC, as well as Innovate, the entity that's doing the air quality monitoring on behalf of the contractor Turner SPC. So what we are doing now is putting together the clarifying report that will provide not only the summation of what we've been doing during our site inspections, which we've increased in frequency now from once every 2 weeks to every week. So we've been, for the month of July, we've been on site every week. We've gone out again on random inspections so they don't know that we're coming. We've also been communicating with them whenever we get air quality alerts. We also review the data on the AirQual, which is the air monitoring camp system, every day. Now, we can't be monitoring it 24 hours a day. We just are doing we have a system internally where we're checking it on a routine basis. And whenever we see we get the alerts on our phones. And there's about 6 of us that get those alerts. So myself, our project manager, Eric Mertz, 3 of my technical staff, and then our program director, John Maskelyne. So we all are receiving these alerts. So we receive them 24/7, 7 days a week, at night, on the weekends if they occur. And then if Innovate doesn't provide a rationale or a reason for an alert level, which is the level below the actual action stop work level, if they don't provide a reason for it, then we ask for one. And then depending upon what is going on, we'll make recommendations as to what needs to be done. Typically, when it comes to dust, it's more wetting, and that's been the recommendation from the beginning. And they have increased the amount of water being applied in the reaches where that's been necessary, which is obviously the larger ones with more exposed soil. They've added more use of water. They've added sprinklers. They've added the use of a water truck. We're still working with them to ensure that that's done more and more. And we have seen a reduction in the number of alert levels that have come out as a result of dust. We've also worked with them about tidying up and making sure that each of the work areas is left in a manner where over the weekend, if there's no work being done and nobody on site, that they have a water truck available that can be moved over to a reach where there might be an issue with, the soil's drying out and wind kicking up. So all of these things are occurring on a regular basis, on a routine basis. I still look at the alerts when they come at night or on the weekend. Eric Mertz of my staff does as well. And we try to, between the two of us, figure out, what needs to get done next. We have taken all the comments that have been provided to us and looked at them and are making recommendations that will go out in our reports to the BPCA as to things that we think would be a way to ensure better coverage for the monitoring. Those recommendations are coming out this week. They go to the BPCA. We intend to stand behind those recommendations and push them to implement them. But the other part of, I think, the difficulty in the communities reviewing the reports that are issued is the way the figures or the maps are laid out. It's very, the figures in the reports that Innovate issues are cut up and very segmented, so you can't get a feel for the larger work area. So we're looking at trying to use not just the smaller figures that are in the Innovate reports that show where the monitors are relative to the area, to each reach, but also the larger figures that show the actual work area. The other thing that I have to clarify, which will come in our response, our written response, is that there's two sets of air monitoring work scopes. One is an early phase or early stage monitoring plan, which is for the early work, which tends to be a smaller physical area. And those have fewer monitors during the early phase of the work. And then when work starts to ramp up in those areas, there'll be additional monitors added. So that's something that we're going to explain in our response to comments. There's a lot there to sort of unpack. But I think the figures that are 11 by 17 and a little bit larger format, which show the location of the work zones, are going to be helpful. Whether we include those in every report is something that we're figuring out now. I think for the monthly reports, it would be helpful to see that, because those work zones are not shown in the smaller format figures that are in the Innovate report. So, I mean, this is, I know that there's frustration on how long it's taking, but this is a lot for us to unpack because we're not on site every day, and we're integrating in fully with Innovate, with Turner, with BPCA, trying to make sure that we have all of those communications, happening on a very routine, regular basis. But we are happy with the responses that we're getting. We don't get pushback, we get action, and that is what's been happening. So we'll be reflecting that in our reports, but we'll also be providing recommendations. And that will continue, and that's sort of the process. And I think that, I can happily report that, the recommendations that we've been making have been accepted and have been acted upon, which is not always the case for projects of this kind. So that is so far what we're receiving is positive responses back from everybody on the team. So that's where we are. We did, like I said, we have been doing weekly inspections in the month of July since we talked last, increase that frequency. And that will continue until we have it down to a science and things are, moving along the way that we expect them to.
So Laura,
Yes.
that's very helpful.
Yep.
So what is your timeline now for issuing your initial report?
Mhm.
And once that comes out, I guess the expectation is you'll then be providing monthly update reports, is that correct?
Yeah, well, we're issuing monthly reports right off the bat, and so we have April and May. Those will be coming to BPCA this week. June is already drafted and is ready to go, but Innovate has to post their June report. We need their final report in order for us to finalize our report, because what we're doing is taking, we need to make sure that we're jiving with them. Our report should come after theirs. We should never be ahead of them, because they're issuing the report on behalf of the contractor. So that's the traditional way that we've always done it on every other project we've worked on. So June will follow shortly. We'll dive into July. July, ends this Friday. So we'll be able to get the July report prepared quickly now that we have a template that we've finalized and we think will work well for the community. We're not just interpreting what's in their report, we're providing it in a more user-friendly way for people to understand it a little more clearly. And then we're explaining more about how the system works, because I think that's one of the things that's confusing just by looking at the Innovate report. What are the wheels to this? How does this actually function? And then making recommendations, as we go. So we'll be able to, now that the template is done and we're working through it, we'll be able to pump them out very quickly, and each monthly report will come out, shortly after the close of the month. But again, after the Innovate report gets posted, because we really can't get ahead of theirs, because our report is basically coming on the heels of theirs, not in advance of it.
Okay, and
So-
so the distribution of the reports, they come to CB1 simultaneously with BPCA, is that how it works?
The BPCA is reviewing the template report that we're putting together, because it's the first one. And I believe that the distribution will still be from us to them, and then we'll be issuing it once it's final back out to CB1 directly, as well as to BPCA directly. There'll be a very large distribution, but I think you guys get it directly through a different distribution email.
I think we have a lot of questions here. Sarah?
I'm wondering, we've asked several times for a map of where
Right.
the air monitors are. Where is
Right.
that map?
Right. Well, there's actually, and that's one of the challenges, there's multiple maps. So we have right here, you can't see it, but this is a 11x17 figure, which shows each reach. Some of the reaches have multiple figures of this because of their orientation. And on each of these
Don't know what
figures is,
multiple- I'm
sorry.
sorry, that makes no sense. I don't know what multiple figures means. All
Okay.
I know is that we can't see them,
Right.
even though people have tried multiple times in many ways to
Mhm.
see those monitors.
Now, are you
We need
talking
a
about
map.
the fit on the ground, see them, or on a map, see them?
Well, we'd like to actually physically see them, but we
Okay.
want to know where they are on your official map.
Right, right. Well, when I say figure, I'm sorry, that's a term that we use as consultants. They're maps. These are maps that are created by Innovate, the company that's doing the actual air monitoring program. Their maps show where these units are. And so we're including those in our report. It'll make it easier for you to see. If you like, we can include photographs of each of the air monitoring units in our report. And
That'd be
so,
great.
yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
With their locations.
yes.
I mean, there are maps in the Innovate reports that are available now.
But I can't.
Yeah, the Innovate
actually
reports
see the
up
monitors.
through May are on the website. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to speak over you. The Innovate reports are on the website, and they do have an embedded map. Actually, they have several embedded maps that actually show the what they call the AM33, AM32. These are the air quality system, AQS units. And each reach has a certain number of them. Some of them have 5 or 6, some of them have 2. The ones that have 2 are the early stage work. They're not the larger full-blown work started yet. For the
I just want to know
full-
where they are.
Right.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt because
I mean, they are on the website now.
Yeah,
It tells us
these
where the
reports,
location-
yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, so if we put the website right now, this would have actually just been the answer to the question,
Look
by
at
the
the
way.
website, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but they're in the,
Yeah, they're-
Innovate.
The Innovate
If you
reports
tell
have
them
where
where-
these reaches are.
Let me finish.
Okay.
They're in the Innovate reports, and as Laura has just said, those reports are not the easiest to
Yeah, they're
understand.
not.
And part of what her work is going to be is to make it hopefully more transparent, including in terms of the locations of the monitors. They're there. I looked at them today.
Yeah.
Did you see physically?
I mean, I've seen the maps, yes.
Yeah,
You didn't go out.
And you could have,
Well, they're
Well,
behind a
you
construction.
can't see them physically because they're inside, that's what I was gonna make a point of.
Some of them you can see, but there are.
But they're inside the fence and they're inside the
But you can
construction.
actually see inside the fence from different places.
But see, one of the issues that we have, you all and Laura as well, is that there is a significant delay in the time frame that Innovate issues
Yeah.
its reports. I mean, right now,
Right.
the latest one that's available, as
It's May.
I'm sure you know, is
Right.
May. And, here we are at the end of July. I don't know if it's possible for Innovate to speed that up.
right,
But, I mean, one area that's been subject of a lot of questions and comments is the area right outside of the sort of 6A North area, right outside of Gateway.
right,
Which in the May report shows no monitors at all in that location, even though work had begun in May.
Right.
And it's hard for me to remember what work took place when, now 2 months
right,
later.
right.
But this is sort of a comment for Battery Park City Authority as much as for Laura, is that we really need to make sure these monitors are in place before the work starts.
absolutely.
And right now, there's a lot of questions about whether that's been the case.
Yeah, my understanding is, I know that this came up at the last meeting, and my understanding is that the monitors were in place before the work started. It's hard for us to ground truth that because we're only out at the site, during our random inspections. We're not there every day, or we don't have boots on the ground every day. So we're relying upon what's being reported to some extent when it comes to that. But I can tell you right now that all the early work areas that have the two monitors in a smaller area, which is reach 1, 3, and 6. Though there's 2 reach 6s, they're sort of separated. They each have 2 monitors. Reach 1 has 2 monitors. Others have, like reach 7, which is a primary or main stage work area, has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 monitors. 5 has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 monitors. So the ones that are the full-blown main stage work areas are 5 and 7, and they all have multiple monitors, and they are all there. We've done our inspections again once a week this month and have visited every single reach. We have photographs of every single system, so we can identify them in a photograph. They are, there, they are functioning. We know if they go down, Innovate has a person on site. And so if there's any problem with the operation of one, they're addressed immediately. We haven't really had many issues with batteries or anything like that has occurred over the last, few months that we've been involved. But when it does happen, they address them very readily. So there's not a large period of time where there's no monitoring occurring.
We have a
So,
few
but
more
we'll take these comments and make sure that we're explaining them and giving you a visual and giving you the location.
Thank you.
So now, Jill and then Mark.
and we could just keep it very succinct in terms of responses, and I appreciate the great detail that you do go into. So Gateway is reach 6, is that correct?
Well, that's a question.
And so the work that's being done with no barriers, with that big dust field, only does not qualify, I just want you to confirm based on what you just said, does not qualify for the multiple monitors such as reach 7 and 5. So that's my takeaway from that.
It's
Well,
an
let's-
early
let's
work
clarify
package.
that. Let's
Yeah, it's
clarify that
referred to
first.
as
Yeah,
the early work. It's referred to as the early work package by Innovate.
Yeah,
No,
So just-
hold on, Jill,
wanna go
because
here?
there's an area of confusion, and I don't know if Laura
Yes,
or Dan or anybody else has the answer to this. The area that Jill is referring to and that has generated a lot of comments and questions, is the area directly west of Gateway Apartments, between Gateway and Hudson River. And there is a large open area
Mhm.
of dirt that is exposed. It's frequently, usually wetted down, but nonetheless, it's a
Right.
large area.
Mhm.
Um,
Yes.
That area has been designated by two different designations. And I don't know what you and Innovate designated as. It's the border area between
Mhm.
Reach 5E and
Right.
6A North. And at least to our untrained eyes, it looks like a pretty large area that
Mhm.
probably should justify more than two monitors. But we don't know whether, when you say, because I looked at the Innovate May report today,
Mhm.
and there were two areas in Reach 6 that showed monitors, neither of which was this area. They were the street ends of Albany and West Thames, where there's that preliminary work that has been going on. It's the
Right.
Innovate map shows two monitors at the end of Albany, two monitors at the end of West Thames. It didn't show
Yes.
any monitor in this area, this other area is talking about, but then again, this was back in May and topsoil hadn't been disturbed that day, I just don't
Right.
recall. So, yes,
That's a-
it's
that-
that
that-
area there. So,
Yeah, so-
What is the next reach? Right,
yes,
yeah, just,
and I don't know, and Dan I see is on here, maybe Dan has that.
Yeah, so please, please, please just give like a one sentence answer. What is the name of the reach?
Reach 6.
Yeah,
That's
I
how
can-
I refer to it.
I can
Thank
help
you.
out a little bit here. So if you
And so
imagine,
Well, let Dan answer the question. He
Okay.
has to
so
defend it.
it's a little confusing because, you know, the project was split up into reaches, thinking that those would be discrete areas of construction. So Reach 5 is basically the horseshoe around North Cove, which extends all the way, you know, past the northwest corner of Gateway to the railing. So
Right.
basically, if Liberty Street extended to the Esplanade, that area north of that is Reach 5. But
Yeah, no, this
because we discovered some efficiencies, I'm sorry to belabor the answer, but because we discovered some efficiencies with working a little bit south of there, the line's been blurred a little bit between Reach 5 and Reach 6 in that corner, to your point. So really, the number of monitors that Laura is describing for Reach 5 covers that section.
So
Okay.
So when we talk about reach 6, we don't see all those monitors for this area, which, by the way, has no protection to the apartments, directly to the windows. There is a chain fence and a kind of blue wavy piece of paper thing with big holes in it. So all the dirt comes right into the apartment. There is zero barrier. There's only, to your thing, there's only two monitors in that particular area, right in front of the residence. Where, and by the way, I'm the one, or not me, but I'm sure other people did, way back in May, when we were saying there was no watering once it started. There were hot weekends, there was a huge windstorm, there was no water being put down. And it was unbelievable the amount of dust and dirt coming into people's faces and their eyes and their apartments. So I want to know in Reach 6, not Reach 5, in Reach 6, how many monitors there are.
Well, understand that Dan just said, I think that area you're talking about, they're designating as 5.
Yeah, they're redesignated as part of 5.
What are the boundaries?
Right, and
As we said,
they moved, they
So-
blurred it.
So then how are we supposed to know?
Well, that's why we're
Reach 6, yeah.
providing these figures, because I think it'll help.
Wait.
I mean, allegedly.
Well, we will see the map and the report comes out, but
Okay.
we don't have an up-to-date
All
map.
right. Let's go my second
We physically don't have it.
question. In my opinion, and everyone else could disagree, it is unbelievably unacceptable that it's almost August and we can't get information beyond May. You have to remember, and I say this all the time, we are human beings. who live there. I realize you come once a week, you do a great job, and it's very appreciated. There are thousands of human beings. There are newborn babies, there are seniors, there are pregnant people breathing this in every day. And a 3-month wait is not acceptable. Do you agree?
Yes,
need
we're
to
doing,
understand.
yes, and I, all I can say is that it's a lot for any company to come into a project like this and try to distill all of this information and so many different sources of information, and we're doing our
No, I
best. And
understand.
the
We
last thing
understand your
and I've been
time.
doing this for a long time, so let me
Yeah,
finish,
yeah.
please. The last thing in the world that I want to be doing is issuing something that's going to make it more confusing or is going to make it unacceptably informative in terms of it being frustrating for you once you get it after we've issued it. So
Okay. In the
it's really
meantime,
important for us to get it right. And this is a long project, as you know. So
Well, you're
we're
right.
trying to get everybody's information accurately reflected. So I'm sorry. I know
Yeah,
it's
no, you
been
said
frustrating.
this. You've
Go ahead.
said this before, and I understand it's.
So Jill, I think you've made your
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, I understand. And believe me, if I could have, I did not want to have to come on tonight saying it wasn't done, but we're doing our best.
I understand. We've been breathing this and dealing with this for 3 months without any information.
Let's go on,
But I
Mark.
appreciate your company works hard.
I think Mark's gonna
Thank you.
bring forward
There
some
is
of the similar
information
points.
out there through May, in the
I
Innovate
know,
data.
it
The
says on
data we
here.
have is no different than what Innovate has, because all we're doing
We
is
said
just
that.
ground
We
truthing.
know this, thank you.
Okay, Mark, you're next.
Hi, good evening. I'll start by acknowledging that I do see a big difference, presumably at the point where you started doing your weekly or bi-weekly visits.
Mhm.
Because as Jill indicated, there was no, or very little watering
Right.
or mitigation in April and May. And I can now say that the water trucks and the hoses are frequent and common. So I do see progress.
Right.
I think that probably reinforces the need for the independent monitoring, because I suspect that wouldn't have happened otherwise.
Yeah.
Having said that, I do have several questions that I'd like to see if we can address. I think I heard you say that the coming out this week will be the April and May reports. I was under the impression, based on last month's report, that once you issued the report, you'd start back in December, and then you would catch up quickly through current. Are we going to see your reports for December through March?
We were not, no, I don't think so. I think that the best thing for us to do is just start April, May, June going forward, because for us to go all the way back, I don't see the point in doing that, number one. And number two, we weren't boots on the ground, so we don't have anything else to add beyond what we're doing now. And I think prospectively is what's really important, to try to, number one, address your questions and comments and concerns
Okay.
about the number of monitors, and then also
Okay,
give
you've
you
answered
our
the question.
perspective.
You've answered the questions. So you're retracting what you reported at the last meeting. You're
I'm
not.
not sure that I remember that.
Well, I'm
I
not
remember
retracting
correctly.
what I reported. I'm just trying to make it realistic for us to be able to go back and do that. Takes away from our ability to go forward. And I think going forward is really what's important. What's historic
No, I
is
think
already in the
I
Innovate
think
report.
historic is important. I mean, I'll give you my 2 cents and let's move on from that.
Sure.
The historic is important because it's important to understand what the subcontractor was doing and the extent to which your involvement has impacted and improved the process. So that's enough there on that piece.
Okay.
Do you have a sense of how many of the air quality monitors are battery powered and relying on those batteries being changed?
Well, I believe they all have battery operation. I mean, some have solar power regeneration, but they're all operated on battery. I mean, every air quality system has a battery rechargeable by solar or just a battery, depending upon the situation and the location. Sorry?
None of them are hardwired to electricity. So they're all reliant on solar to recharge their battery.
I'm not 100% sure that that's the case, but I'll make sure that I do know and we'll reflect it in our report.
Okay. Do you know how many of the air quality monitors use the GPS signal on that device to track its movement and placement?
I believe they all are activated because when they're moved, it's documented in the air quality system. You can see them if they're moved.
Okay, to that point, I'll tell you, based on Reach 6,
Mhm.
the maps are completely inaccurate. So either they're cutting and pasting the maps from prior months, or they're not updating maps based on the GPS, or the GPS isn't active. I'll be happy to go through with you outside of this meeting. I don't want to waste time here, but I can tell you, I live there. I'm familiar with what the devices look like. The maps that are presented in the inmate report do not reflect where those monitors were in April and May.
Agreed.
Well, that's one of the things I think we have to get to the bottom of, because what the figures are that they're using in their reports, when they take the screenshots for those figures, when are they doing that? And if they're not accurate based on where they were in that month, then that's a problem. And we need to address that.
They're not accurate.
Do you have a report or analysis that?
Yeah, I'll be happy to share it. I don't want to take up the time here.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Yeah, but send me
provide that.
what you have and we'll obviously take a look at it. And we are in active communications with Innovate to try to make sure we 100% understand exactly how they're generating the reports and that we can, understand what it is that we need to ask them to make sure we're interpreting their reports properly and accurately.
Okay, can you give me a fairly simple and straightforward definition of what the early stage work is and the later stage work that's the full package? I mean, how do you or Turner or the community understand what the difference between types of construction and types of disruption is early stage versus later stage?
AKRF is the engineer that designed, I think, the layout for the sensors, number of sensors per reach based on early stage work versus late stage work. My understanding is the early stage work is site preparation, and so not as invasive as the full-blown later stage work, which would be the actual construction.
So
I mean, I can't get into specifics, with you right now, but that is my understanding of the distinction.
So the micropile drilling is prep work?
Apparently,
No,
because that's
no.
early stage work though, right?
No.
No, in 6, it's micropile drilling, isn't that going on in
That's
Rector?
correct.
Well, I think,
Hold on, folks.
yeah, I
As,
think,
as we just clarified, that area is called Reach 5, not Reach 6.
No, not by
Right.
you. You're talking, are you talking about Rector Place, or you're talking about,
Right.
I'm not talking anything specifically. I just wanted to understand the definition.
Right,
And if micropile drilling is full works
it
package,
is.
okay, then I'd like to understand why there's only 2 monitors in the area that's sometimes referred to as 5E and sometimes referred to as 6A North.
well, that's where I think the confusion comes in, because I think as Dave was trying to explain, because of the way the figures in the Innovate report show the reaches, it looks like they're distinctly separate, but they're not. They're contiguous. And so they're using you can use multiple units to cover the same area. I think. And now that's not to say, though, that we're not making recommendations related to the number of units. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Okay.
I believe you started your conversation by indicating that you had received Tammy's request.
Yes.
Or you've received Tammy's. Do you have a sense of when those responses will be coming?
We're working on those. There's quite a number of questions. Some of those are not for me to respond to. Some of them are really more for the BPCA. So I'm working through my portion of the response, and then the BPCA has to respond to certain other portions of it. There's quite a lot of information in there. And we're trying to be, thorough in our responses. So I can't give you a time frame for that because we're focused on the monthly reports right now. And we need to get those out. We need to get our recommendations out. We need to let you know exactly how we're functioning, and then the questions you've asked us relate to the process. So I think once the reports are out, then we can focus back on explaining to you what the process is. Because I think right now, the most important thing is for the reports to come out. So you have that information and you have our explanation and our interpretation and our recommendations.
Right. Is it possible that some of these responses can come from your office on a rolling basis rather than waiting until you have the opportunity to answer every single question.
Mark, why don't you let the community board deal with getting responses from community board requests?
Well, it's been 2 months.
Yep. I understand, but I think it's the.
Yeah, I mean, there are some questions,
make
there
that
are some
request
questions that I can easily, there
I
are
think
some
we-
questions that are
we-
easy to, I'm sorry. There are some questions that are easy to answer, and there are others that require, you know, BPCA to weigh in on. So, you know, I can tell you right now, the one thing I was surprised to hear as a question is, do we have access to the live feed? We absolutely do. I mean, we've said that from day one. We have access, we get the alerts, 6 of us get the alerts immediately on our phones and on our email in our PCs, and we have access to the air quality system. We can see it 24/7. So we can see the data in real time. We can see the instantaneous readings and the 15-minute time weighted average that are rolling averages for each area of for each reach and for every unit. We can see if it's down, we can see if it's working, we can see the weather station data, we can see everything. So we have access to that 24/7.
So the easy question to answer, is it possible to receive them on a rolling basis?
Mark,
Yeah, I mean,
if you have specific questions, fine, but in terms of, you know, we're kind of hammering on her to get responses. I don't want multiple other people hammering on her. And maybe giving different priorities than we are giving her.
No, I'm not
Yeah,
looking to
I
set
mean-
priorities, I'm asking a question.
Can it be piecemeal? I don't know if that's the answer.
I know,
That's what
yeah.
he's asking, right?
Yeah,
The answer
and
is
I can,
piecemeal.
yeah, and I can also let you know that our staff that come out to do the inspections are experienced project scientists who have done this before on multiple other projects. Every one of them is trained on how to use the equipment. Every one of them has construction management experience. Every single one of them can calibrate the equipment in their sleep. They've been doing this for many, many years. They know exactly how to communicate back to us, relate to us any concerns. We speak to them before they come back to the office. They send photographs to us if there's any issue of concern whatsoever. And we review the data for the days and weeks leading up to the inspection, depending upon how frequent the inspection is, to make sure that we're honing in on any area that is of concern, but we're visiting every reach every time. So, you know, these are very qualified, experienced professionals that are going out.
So Laura, I think you can hear frustration from members of the community on, you know, getting the reports out. I think your priority is correct in getting the reports out as quickly as possible, which I think will allay some of the concerns that the community has. Mark, do you have other substantive questions that you want to make sure are in the mix?
I think Laura just answered one of them. I heard you say that when they do come out for their inspections, they do inspect every reach on every visit.
Only there have been some exceptions to that if there was an immediate concern that we were sending someone out for to look at a specific reach because of a specific exceedance. But generally speaking, our inspections are for all the reaches that are active, if not every reach, period. So we're doing our best to visit everyone in each visit. And sometimes going back to a second one if something else happens, like if we've actually sent our inspector back to a reach after they've already visited it, if we wind up coming up with a question based upon their feedback to us. So, you know, this is an active process between my project manager, Eric Mertz, myself, and the person that's doing the inspection, which typically has been one of our project scientists, Brian Nail, who, you know, has a ton of experience and he knows what he's working on. And we're also interacting with the folks in the field. You know, if we have questions, we go right up to them and ask them, you know, what's going on. So
And approximately when did your inspection start?
I believe the first site inspection was actually in May, because when we first got retained, we didn't have a lot of familiarity with, you know, the things that we needed in order to go out and do the inspection. We got a little bit of a slow start, which is not uncommon for this kind of a project, quite honestly. I mean, this is a very large project, as you guys know. It will go on for a long period of time. You know, we have a contract that extends, you know, right now 4+ years. We have other contracts in the city that are also multiple years. And it takes a little while to get up to speed so that we're really aware and sure with what we're doing. So I believe May was our beginning, but we were, again, it was a little bit of an slow onboarding.
Thank you. Thanks, Mark, for the. Do we have any questions? Can I tell if anybody's hands are raised?
No.
Any other questions in the room? Laura, I'm sorry we beat up on you so much.
Oh, no, it's okay. I understand everyone's frustrated. I'm just trying, we're just, yeah, I just want you to know that we're doing the best we can. We really are working very hard to get these done. And once you get them, hopefully you'll be happy with what you're receiving and it'll be helpful and informative. If it's not, then you give us comments and we'll try to do better with making sure we're hitting those marks.
As you've seen, we won't hesitate to.
Yeah, no, that's the process, and I'm a little under the weather, so I apologize if I'm a little short with,
That's fine. It's fine. The work that you're doing is very important to us and and I'm glad there's so many people in the community that are engaged.
And I just,
Yeah.
Laura, thank you for taking the time. I won't belabor it. I just had my notes, so I want to make sure I'm clear on
Sure.
everything when I go back and have do this post meeting as well. So
right.
I know there's the questions that you're working down. I think we have the same list. But I will be in touch with your office this week to make sure that I understand which questions you're working on and I'm working on, because I want to make sure we're not working. So
Right.
kind of round the bases on that, make sure we have the questions and we know who's working on what, so we're not working cross purposes.
Right. And to Mark's point, I mean, if we can split them up and maybe take the ones that are a little more straightforward for us to be able to respond to regarding the frequency of our inspections, what we're doing when we're out there, those kinds of things. Some of them require a little bit more time to respond to, Nick. So I'll try to come up with a split to make it a little bit easier and faster, and maybe we can send it out in 2 or 3 sets of responses following the order that they're in the email.
Yeah, it'll be helpful to kind of.
So that you're not waiting until the end to get all of the responses.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. If some of the issues take a while to figure out the response to, please don't hold up the other responses pending the difficult ones. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Laura. This is a nice segue into the construction update, so now we'll make some of the same things all over again.
Yeah, right.
Different set of presenters. Nick, is it Dan? or-
Yes,
or-
Dan is here and he's going to give our construction update for current status of the report. Dan, our city director of capital projects.
Good evening, everyone. Kind of buried the lead because I already started talking during other portions, but happy to be with you this evening. I'm sorry that I couldn't be there in person. It was my youngest daughter's birthday today, so we had a little celebration before this.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Oh, it's
Thank you.
Tammy's daughter's
She turned 3 today, and she
Cute.
exclaimed that she was feeling taller today. So that's nice.
Oh, cute, Dan.
Yeah, she's the best. And you all are saving me from bedtime, so I appreciate that. Okay, so I have, I think, 27 slides to go through. Happy to go through them quickly and then return to any for more information.
Not a ton.
Yeah, go ahead.
A lot of pictures.
Not pictures, I like it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can do it. Go ahead, Dan, you want to let me know when to go forward?
yeah, sure.
Right on.
Next, please. So we'll start with the south, show you the progress there. Then we'll talk about the northwest for most of the presentation, and then just some outreach and engagement updates. Next. Okay, so the south project, as you know, is nearing completion. We opened up Wagner Park last year. It seems like a long time ago now, but we're still wrapping up some punch list items, crossing our T's, dotting our I's, making sure that all the paving materials, for example, are installed correctly and without major gaps in them, et cetera. So Wagner Park and around the museum, 99% complete. Most of that is administrative closeout. Wagner Park Pavilion, similarly, very close to being completely done. Most of that is administrative. Pier A in the Battery, as you know, has lagged a little bit, but it has started to catch up recently. We'd estimate that's 85% complete. So some things that are still outstanding are some utility installations, some planting work, and putting in the permanent bike lane along the north side of the Battery. And then finally, package 4, which is, not useful for our discussion, but that's okay. Package 4 is everything basically from Pier A east, so Pier A Plaza, and then the stretch along the Battery. And that'll be completed this fall. And you can see we're already doing some grading work along the Battery in that photo. This image is we're south of Battery Place, looking west. So you can see Pier A in the distance there. You can see we're kind of standing up on a berm, looking down at the flood wall, and the gap that you see is where the flip-up gate is, one of a few that's along this stretch. Next. And this is looking the opposite way. So portions of the flood wall are bermed over instead of being an exposed flood wall. And this is one of those stretches. I love this picture because it looks like you're kind of in the wild in the Battery. And that's a feeling that we're trying to capture with some of our landscaping in that north side of the Battery. So next. You can see a lot of the hardscape in Pier A Plaza is nearing completion. That gentleman is doing some final cleaning. But most of the installation is complete here, and it's now open, so you can walk by Pier A and go all the way down to the Battery from this location. Next. And this is looking the other way. So this is looking, you can see there's a temporary bike lane, which is yet to be finalized, heading east along the north side of the Battery. But this is a pretty good view of that gap in the flood wall where there's a flip-up gate. The flip-up gate, to remind everyone, will be within the grade, below the surface, until it needs to be deployed, and then it'll flip up and make one contiguous wall with that wall that you're seeing clad in stone there. And then these are bollards in the foreground, which can be taken out in the event that an emergency vehicle needs to access the Battery. Next. And this is Pier A Inlet. So this is the area north of Pier A, between Pier A and Wagner Park. And this is the finishing touches. We're installing some riprap, which is a fancy word for a lot of small, tiny stones, which basically help with erosion control. So everywhere we're not creating an enhanced habitat will be, and other plantings will be covered in riprap. So that'll prevent soil erosion in this area. Next. So that was all the south. I guess I'll keep going unless there's some questions about the south. Okay, let's dive into the northwest. Okay, so to refresh everyone's memory, this is the entire alignment broken up into reaches, as we discussed before. And you can see in the dotted line on the left side, that's where we tie into the south project. And so that area to the left is called Reach 7, which is currently under construction for the flood barrier system. And then most of the South Esplanade, kind of between the brackets, is Reach 6, South Esplanade. And then, as we discussed briefly earlier, Reach 5 is that entire North Cove horseshoe, and a portion of that actually hits the South Esplanade on the northwest corner of Gateway. And now that dotted line has actually edged a little bit, it's become a little bit blurry because some of the current construction is technically Reach 5 and some is technically Reach 6 on that corner of Gateway. And then continuing north, I'll speak to some areas here at VC Place. The north neighborhood, much of that is going to be completed in later phases, but we've just mobilized construction along the North Esplanade, which is Reach 2. Not the entire North Esplanade, just the portion in front of Stuyvesant. And this graphic can show you a little bit better detail about what's currently active construction for the flood barrier system. There was a question earlier about what is the main stage project, the flood barrier stage project, versus early works or site readiness works. Most of the site readiness works are these tide gates. which are installed in DEP infrastructure, mostly at street ends. So I'll speak to that as I go through, but you can see that at the top, Albany Street has been completed, but tie gate work continues at Rector Place, Chambers, and River Terrace that we spoke earlier to about whether you can access portions of Chambers Street. In the northeast corner of Stuyvesant Plaza, and VC Place. And then you can see technically four reaches are currently in construction in the flood barrier system work. So principally North Cove and South Cove, but South Esplanade, as I mentioned, that corner of Gateway is currently mobilized with the rest of the exposure of Gateway to follow in the fall, probably September. The entire western frontage of Gateway will be under construction at that point. And then North Esplanade, we've just mobilized. So that's started, but that's some pretty significant construction work too. So that's going to be ongoing through 2030. And then the other reaches have not yet been mobilized yet. So here's a graphic interpretation of what I just basically spoke about. You can see there's flood barrier system construction at Reach 7, South Cove, at Reach 5, North Cove, and then Reach 2, North Esplanade. And the other smaller areas of red are the site readiness or tie gate work, which I'll speak to in greater detail as we go through. So to point out wayfinding, I know there's been a lot of questions about how to access different areas of the neighborhood. So hopefully this will clear some issues up. Now that we have captured a lot of the portion in front of Brookfield Place on the west side, we are encouraging bikes to use West Street and Hudson River Greenway to go south and north along Battery Park City. We have put up signs discouraging bicycle use along that west side of Brookfield. So hopefully people, if they're using the Esplanade for biking, will turn east at Albany and then use West Street and the Hudson River Greenway for the future.
Sorry,
then-
that's supposed to be up and down West Street.
Oh, I think Laura's microphone might still be on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Okay. And just to remind everyone, the ferry terminal will remain open throughout construction, and you can currently access that from the north, from the east if you navigate around the VC Street construction, and from the south there. And then you can also access the Esplanade at various points. You can see in the blue arrows. You can access it at Wagner Park still, at 3 of the streets along South Esplanade, West Thames, Rector, and Albany. And then obviously along Rockefeller Park continues to be open. But there is no access currently at Second Place, Third Place, and South End Avenue, where Reach 7 construction is ongoing. And I just want to, before we go to the next slide, I also wanted to point out, that's okay. There are 2 dog runs that are still open. One is at the north end and one is at West Thames Park. But we understand, the closing of the Kowski Park dog run was the serious dog run was a point of frustration for some. But some dog runs are still open. Next. So starting from the south, moving north, I'll point out which ones are flood barrier system construction and which ones are site readiness or tie gate work. This is the main stage flood barrier system work. What you're seeing here is a machine that installs sheet piles, which are progressing north from South Cove Plaza along the Riverwatch on that east side of South Cove. So that work is actually progressing fairly quickly. The sheet piles are almost all installed. The next phase in Reach 7 will be micropile work. And to give someone who's not familiar with micropiles and sheet piles a little bit more explanation here. Sheet piles are basically panels of metal that are welded together to form a seepage barrier so that water can't come through beneath the surface. And micropiles are largely structural in nature. They're basically concrete columns that are driven down to bedrock to make sure that the flood barrier system is on a strong foundation. So on the east side of South Cove, which is this picture that we're seeing here, along Riverwatch and South Cove Plaza, it's sheet piles. And then on the north side, along Regatta and close to Cove Club, will be micropiles.
Quick
Jeff, you have a
question.
question for Justine?
Okay,
Sure.
So when we talk about sheet pile installation, is that considered site prep work or the hardcore construction
No,
that
that's the-
Laura was
Yeah, this is
talking
main
about?
main stage or flood barrier system construction. Mhm.
So it's the real deal, right? The real deal.
Yes, yes, the real deal, the real deal. So this was mobilized, one of the first reaches to be mobilized because this is where the tie-in to the South project occurs, and we wanted to make the project as contiguous as possible as we proceed.
Which means when it comes back online, then you would have library.
And then it keeps going. And HVAC
Exactly.
relocation projects, what are that? What is that?
Red, HVAC relocations and louver protection.
Oh, I'm sorry. So HVAC relocations and louver protection is mostly happening at Regatta. That's basically making sure that we're protecting air quality and also ensuring a seamless availability of their HVAC systems in the Regatta. And then you might
So
have
it's
also been aware of there's been some water main work that's been required at the intersection of South End Avenue and Third Place. And so some of that might still have to happen in the coming future.
I have a question about, so
Mhm.
those are black, sound barriers that you put up there on top of the wall? Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. Yeah.
I
So you
guess
can
my
see
question,
here.
like,
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, those are very thick, right? I've seen them at other places. And I
Yeah,
just
they're,
wanted.
they're kind of the thickness of like if you ever go camping and you have like a mat that you place underneath your sleeping bag, they're kind of that thickness.
Okay, and then there's another, but none of those are protecting Gateway, it's also having public garden, but we can get to that during the Q&A.
Well, there's different conditions here. So we're a fair bit away from the facade here at Riverwatch and South Cove Plaza, a good bit away. Along Regatta, we're going to have construction right up against the facade. And so the protection will look a little bit different. Sound protection and air quality protection will look a little bit different along that facade.
There's not a gateway, but like I said, when time's right, I have a picture, and that's Riverwatch. I got receipts.
Riverwatch,
Is it your room there?
The one next to it, 70.
Okay, so moving north, so this is an example of a tide gate that's being installed at Rector Place. There's a lot of engineering that still has to be worked out in this location. There's a lot of below ground obstacles that we have to navigate through. So the pile rig will be mobilized in the coming weeks, we're hopeful, and then piles will start to be drilled there. And then we'll be installing the supportive excavation and actually building the tide gate. But we're hoping that the tide gate here will be finished by the end of 2026. And at this location, access to the Esplanade is still open on the south side of the street.
More monitors.
Tide gate installation would be, yes, carry over from the site prep work, from again.
But you know, so I guess my big question is here, looking at all that dirt, so that's something that we want to be under the watch of blowing wind, watering it down and all that stuff. So.
Yes, go ahead, Dan, or
That's
Or
right.
or just a point to say, maybe that requires more than two.
I think that photograph makes it look larger.
Maybe it's possible, yeah, that looks huge, but that's what it's not.
That's just the end of.
strange, the end of the block.
Yeah, I think the perspective of this picture makes it look larger than it is. This is just the street end. But to your point, yes, watering of the soil is occurring, is ongoing, and it is also being monitored by air quality monitors.
Thank you.
Next, so the next street, Albany Street, the tide gate is actually complete. So what's happening here in this picture is that there's just a temporary pavement that's being applied to that street end so that construction vehicles can access the Esplanade. This area will be disrupted in as early as 2027, where the main flood barrier system work will proceed. But as of now, an early success story is that this tide gate has been completed.
On time.
On time.
It's out there.
And obviously, it's not the final state. The final state will happen after the flood
Yes.
barrier system construction will happen.
Yes. It's not gonna be hard to see that. It's hard to see the now until.
Yeah.
The streets.
Okay, so this is that corner of Gateway that we were talking about earlier. We still classify it as Reach 5 or North Cove work, even though, as we mentioned, it's very close to Reach 6. And in fact, some areas on the west side of Gateway are technically Reach 6, but they're under construction currently. So to bring up a few access points that I spoke of earlier, access along the west side of Brookfield Place is closed to through traffic through construction. Liberty Street access is closed through construction, and Kowski Playground, Serious Dog Run, and the Police Memorial, except for NYPD use, will be closed through construction. What's currently happening, as you all are probably familiar if you live close to there or at Gateway, is there is pile installation happening right now on that northwest corner of Gateway, as shown in the image. That will kind of turn the corner and start moving south along Gateway. Other areas of Reach 5, surface demolition along the district and in front of the Winter Garden and PJ Clark's. And there's also mobilization along the South Esplanade, further south along Gateway, as planned, as discussed earlier, later this fall, probably September.
No, can I ask a question?
I understand.
Slides up.
Hold on.
Okay.
Okay, Dan, I think this is the area that Jill was gonna ask about sound barriers, and I think Sarah has some questions as well.
You wanna go first?
Well, my question is pretty simple. It's just that, when they're drilling down, I see water just spewing up. So I'm wondering, is it going through water to bedrock?
Yes,
Or is
so
that-
something that I wasn't familiar with until I joined BPCA is that actually everywhere that we have our esplanade, it's actually on a pile supported platform. So once you go
Yes.
beneath the platform, you're actually going through water to then reach soil again and then bedrock further
Exactly.
down.
Yeah.
So water
Really?
will be part of the process. You have to go through water to get to the bedrock.
That's Hudson River water.
Yeah.
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 And so to Jill's sound barrier
Well,
point,
Can I show my video?
well, I mean, I think we can see it right here.
Well,
Is that-
yeah,
that-
but,
Oh.
anyway, my point is, I'll just shout out the noise. That you're doing pile driving and you've got pickups or big dirt trucks. So this is major work.
Yeah.
And it would have one or two monitors there. That's not appropriate, obviously. I'm looking at sound barriers at other locations which are really thick. And they are the same distance. So I think they may even be closer to apartments than in that picture. Those flimsy blue plastic things are not sound barriers. So you have no sound barriers up. There is no protection also from the water
As soon
that
as
goes
they
on the
start,
grades.
a lot of us wake up.
Well, I'm not sure sound barrier is gonna help us live upstairs, but it's a good point. Everywhere else has sound barriers, but
Sound barriers.
I mean, I think Jill's point is these are not even supposed to be sound barriers, so that the question is, why no sound barriers at this location?
And why no protection from the river water that goes up and then is, then,
On a windy day.
aerialized. Sorry.
Aerosol.
Well, let's.
Aerosolized, yeah.
So question number one is, why no sound barriers if that?
That are similar to the other ones.
Why no monitors for major construction on the scale?
We don't yet know the monitors.
Yeah, we said.
Well, we know
there are
there-
more than two monitors. We talked about that earlier.
Yeah,
We
Yeah,
don't
they
do
said
it
that
ourselves.
We used to see them.
You just can't see them anywhere, even in
I
the
mean,
picture.
once we get the map, we'll have
Yes.
questions.
Okay, and none near,
We still won't actually see them.
yeah, there's none near the building, but I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
If you
Go ahead.
sneak in, do you see?
No.
I don't sneak into construction sites.
You might want to.
So, okay, so Dan, first question is, why no sound barriers at that location.
Yep, that's a good flag. I'll have to bring that back and also look into how we can protect from any water that might be spraying. These are new issues to me. I'll bring them back to the team. But 2 points of clarification I think that Nick spoke to and Laura earlier is that the number of air quality monitors that are within Reach 5, I think Laura quoted 5, which are dispersed around the entire construction site. So there's not just 2 here. It's 5, albeit a larger geographic area, but they're dispersed to capture, this air quality information from as many angles as possible. And
Yeah,
the
but
other
the
point of,
building, not near the building.
Well,
I think
We'll
we've
see on
asked
the
that in the CAC.
We did ask
Laura in the CAC if it was possible, and I don't know if Laura is the one who puts them up, but we asked for some monitors, air quality monitors closer to the buildings and higher up if possible, on higher levels, on all the buildings above the water, from Gateway down to the Regatta and beyond.
And I will remind you for the,
And I don't know how that flies, but people wanna know beyond, the ones on the ground are gonna be monitoring what the workers are breathing, important. And maybe you're gonna be catching, if the workers are okay, you're gonna assume people walking by are okay. But what about what's floating up? And all those windows up, because the wind goes up, and that's something that we would love to know. Maybe you're putting the air monitor, quality monitor in an apartment, I have no idea. But that might be something that.
You can use one of my windows.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
regardless, just a reminder, these are human beings living in those apartments. And with your $2 billion project, to kind of forget about sound barriers and the other issues we're talking about, does give me pause.
So I want to make clear that we've raised a handful of different issues. So let's not to get confused. Issue number 1 on this slide was why no sound barriers? Recognizing that those of us who live on higher floors, it wouldn't make a difference one way or the other, but people do use that lawn back there, and there are people on those low floors as well. Number 2, protection for the water spewing and aerializing. And then we have kind of an ongoing question about sufficiency of monitors. And I think we will readdress that when we get Laura's report out, that will actually have the maps of where they actually are. And I'm sure we're gonna have questions about why aren't there more?
Yes.
But we've beaten that horse right now tonight. But it is a very important issue that we want to make sure we follow up on.
But that's what the 3 major points.
Yes.
Thank you, Jeff.
So let's go on.
And I just thank you, Jeff, for clarifying. I agree with you on all those, and I'll take that back to the team. One issue that was brought up was that I think this was referred to as pile drilling. I mean, pile driving. It's actually pile drilling, which might seem like a semantic difference, but it's actually qualitatively a lot different. You know, pile driving is a lot more noisy. It's like using a hammer, which is something that which is something that we didn't choose to employ here because we are sensitive to the nearby residential buildings. It could have done the project a lot faster, but we're instead using pile drilling where possible, which is much less noisy. So I'm sure that doesn't give you a lot of you solace, but hopefully a little bit.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question about the water? So the concern about the water is that it's simply spraying up or it's spraying over the fence?
And into the backyard.
Air.
Versus.
So the air can, they go into the air.
I mean, I haven't personally noticed that, but there is a lot of water.
But it's,
There's water on the ground here, but is it like when it shoots up, does it shoot up like a geyser kind of thing? And then goes over the fence? He's asking, does it spew over the fence? Does it spew against the building? Do the droplets hit
The
the,
heavy wind.
will take the droplets into your window?
Well, we take
And you
that,
can
yeah.
see the droplets, I mean, assuming,
I don't
at
know.
a certain level, you can probably see the droplets on the windows.
But
if
if they're
it's happening.
microtropics.
Okay, but you're talking, we're gonna look into the water. Okay. So let's go to the next slide.
Fine, right.
Okay, so proceeding north, this is the end of VC Place in front of the ferry terminal. So this is also what we call early works or site readiness works. This is tide gate installation. Currently, there are multiple water mains that need to be relocated and moved so that work can progress here, but that's ongoing. Fairly soon, in the next 3 months, we'll be preparing for drilling piles and tide gate structure installation. And we're hoping that the entire tide gate will be installed by the end of 2026 here.
Dan, I'm gonna violate my own rule about interrupting with questions. With another one on Dr. Gateway, the tide gate comment is what triggered something in my mind. In your gateway slide, you mentioned a gateway tide gate is also going to be installed. Did I catch that correctly?
Yes, you did. Thank you for pointing that out. So the tide gate at Gateway is fairly unique. You know, a lot of the tide gates that we're installing is within DEP infrastructure, but the tide gate at Gateway is when we were doing the projections for where water might fall during a storm event. We did notice that our models were showing some ponding on that corner of Gateway. So to alleviate that, we're installing another tide gate at that corner.
And in connection with that, will there be any disruption of water supply during that work?
That's not anticipated because it's not cutting off a water line. But obviously, if there is anticipated water shutoffs, we'll be in communication about that.
So you're not expecting to have to relocate water mains or anything like that?
Absolutely.
Correct. So this is basically installing a tide gate on an outfall that goes from Gateway out to the Hudson. The idea is to place a tide gate there, which is kind of a passive protection for that corner of Gateway. So if storm surge got to a certain level, it's not going to enter below the gate into Gateway through that pipe.
We had flooding during Sandy.
Yeah, so on this slide, if I can, Jeff, I see the 3-month look ahead, relocate water main. Is that going to have any effect on the water to the building, the condo building, right, is that River House?
River House.
And then any of the, Brookfield or whatever the office buildings are, will that have an effect?
So Nick maybe can speak to this a little bit with greater detail because we've already been relocating some water mains, and we have had to message to the buildings that there is that work going on. But I don't recall if there's been any water stoppage at that building. Nick, do you recall?
I'd have to look back at the notices we sent, but when we get notice that a water main needs to be shut down, we notify, it's a series of folks that we notify, so we obviously the buildings, question, sometimes the surrounding buildings, if they affect them. Community board gets a notification, it's a matter of course, the local officials that the.
So you're giving people some notice, which is great, and then.
Yeah, so we always notify it, ideally, we want to try to notify as soon as we can, sometimes we get very short notice.
And when the water main break happened.
Yeah.
In South Cove area,
Yeah.
that obviously disrupted water for a day or two, whatever.
It was,
Yep.
not that any disruption of water is great,
Okay, yeah,
but it was overnight, so it happened, I think, shortly after 9 o'clock, and by 7 a.m. the next morning it was back.
Yeah, it was back.
Still not great, but it
But-
was,
Just throwing
that out
there. Thank you.
it was overnight.
Speaking
He's
to
on
the water issue, Zach, were you able to connect with the DEP? From my understanding, and I'm not a lawyer and I'm not particularly smart, the DEP regulations are that any work that has the slightest chance of maybe a little bit affecting the water must give a 48-hour advance notice to any resident that might be affected. It could be done by putting big notices in buildings. So getting late notice doesn't really, the way I understand it, and I could be wrong, gel with the DEP rules. So the construction people should know the DEP rules. Any construction.
So Jill, what's your question?
So are you following those rules? Because it doesn't sound like it.
We were following rules,
The DEP rules.
if there were particular instances that you can point to, I can look at the particular case.
You just said you didn't get very late
Or
notice.
sometimes we'll get notice.
Yeah, but also, are you
The
gonna
main
go?
building's already been notified on Friday, and the same thing happened a few weeks ago when we had it shut down as well. So we've been getting 4 to 5 days notice.
You have. So in Gateway, no, we didn't get that. kind
That
of
was an
notice.
emergency situation.
Yeah, but if the EP says, if you're doing any work near water pipes that have the slightest chance,
I'm not sure that's what the regulation is.
you want to pull it up, Zach, it says that.
No, if it can impact it, yes, but.
No, it says any chance at all. You must give 48 hours notice.
All
to the
work,
resident.
all work has any chance at all, so.
It does.
No,
Oh, Zach, are you pulling it up?
we don't need to argue about this point, but it is important to give
Yeah.
timely notice.
Yes.
I have an email written from DEP to me that's relatively short. I could read it.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, typically it's 24 hours. But that being said, the shutdowns are for BPCA and they're responsible for making the notifications. I've heard they've gone to building management and a lot of the towers. To let them know. However, sometimes the message doesn't always get to each individual tenant. If you have individual times and dates that occurred, let me know and I can double check.
Okay, so tenants should be notified within 24 hours. Before.
Yeah, speaking of this kind of notice, Nick, I mean, I spoke with Rami last week about instituting something like a Notify New York kind of notice for these things. He indicated you guys were working on something like that. I think that would be incredibly helpful. So because, I mean, the instance that we had a couple of weeks ago is that some people in 70 Battery, you know, yes, the building was notified, but, you know, apparently they placed it on some portal that unless you affirmatively accessed your portal, you wouldn't have known about it. You know, and even an email notice doesn't, you know, you don't necessarily check your, you know, if you're retired, you may not check your email every day.
Well, the retired people check, it's the other people that's
But yes, young people don't ever check their email.
right, right.
But a text notification is something else. I mean,
Yeah. Like an alert, yeah.
Alert.
So what's the story on the possibility of a text notification system?
You just said that that would be very useful to have.
Yeah,
Okay, so we
keep working on that.
will look at it for a little bit. I think we want to try to understand the demand for it. It sounds like you now also have some request or something requesting that Mark has been on it for quite some time, so I will like to get you up on it, maybe you can.
Yeah, I realize it's the text notification system raises all sorts of issues of when do you notify, who you notify, and so forth. But we've all gotten used to Notify New York and similar services, and we kind of expect that if there's gonna be a disruption in our day-to-day life, that we get some kind of notification. like that. But it's gonna go on a long time. There's gonna be lots of unexpected disruptions. So
Yeah.
it'll make it a lot more tolerable.
Get a heads up.
I'll give you some of that. So, all right, Dan, I'm sorry to.
This is
sidetrack.
That's okay.
This is where we're.
That's all right.
Dan, thank you.
Okay, great. So moving further north, so this is that corner of River Terrace and Chamber Street that we were talking about earlier. My understanding is that west of North End Avenue is where
Yes.
where the fence starts. And so if you're coming north on North End Avenue, you should be able to make a right on Chambers. I'm going to walk the site tomorrow to confirm that that's still the case. But the work here is also site readiness or early work. We're installing a tide gate again here. If you're a tide gate nerd like me, you might find it interesting that since we're at a fairly high elevation, for those familiar with the neighborhood, you know that you go up River Terrace and there's significant topography. So we have to install this tide gate way down where the DEP pipe is, something like 20 feet below the street, which is quite the project. But there's also a lot of utilities in this area. We've been working with Con Ed and the water mains in this location as well. And very soon we should be mobilizing the pile rig to start the pile installation and the supportive excavation for the tide gate. And expecting here also to be done with the tide gate by the end of 2026.
And so Dan, before, what I like about this picture is in the right background, you can see the meeting building. That could be us sitting there right now.
That's right.
We're looking at it.
This is side.
Very nice.
Such a blue sky.
All right, go ahead, Dan.
Okay, so moving to the North Esplanade. So this is, again, the main stage work or the flood barrier system work. We've just mobilized north of Stuyvesant and Tribeca Point along that eastern side of North Esplanade. So there's no through traffic for pedestrian access currently. We have to reconstruct the entire stretch of platform along here. So it's going to be a pretty significant engineering feat along this stretch. Access to North Esplanade, as I said, is going to be closed through construction. Pedestrian access going north-south along 9A, as well as the bike lanes, will be maintained. And then pedestrian traffic, if you're walking around Rockefeller Park and heading east, you're going to be redirected to Chambers instead of along the North Esplanade, north of Stuyvesant. So in the 3-month look ahead, we're going to be doing some surface demolition, tree removal and tree protection, relocation of water and fire main, and then reconfiguring of high school egress. So as you might imagine, this work is going to be going on throughout Stuyvesant High School class time. So we're going to have to reconstruct a portion of the Esplanade and then switch the egress to the other side. I can speak more to the egress improvements if you're interested, but that's why we're doing it in kind of 2 phases, is to maintain egress for the high school throughout construction. And then there's a sidewalk shed that's going to be installed as well. Go ahead.
And on that egress point, I've gotten some questions about it. So right now, Stuyvesant has, I guess it's emergency exits on the side facing the North Esplanade. So you're going to it sounds like you're not going to be able to exit the building in those emergency exits. Where are the exits going to be reconfigured so that proper emergency, safeties can be preserved?
Sure, yeah, and we can share some images that speak to this, exactly what the plan is here. But basically, we're trying to finish all the interior egress modifications during the summer before school starts out again. But the idea here is that since we're taking the western door, we're doing construction outside of the western door that faces north, we're going to have to create a new door on the east side that faces north, and then have egress go through that door during the western construction, and then it flips. So there's going to have to be an additional egress door created on the west side while construction is happening on the east side.
And are there egress issues on any of the residential buildings in that area? There's a
No,
residential building.
luckily the egress modifications have been limited to Stuyvesant, and it's mostly because there's a significant daytime population that has to use these egress doors, so we have to account for all that.
Thanks.
But residential buildings, typically there are multiple entries and exits that we don't have to block during construction. And so this is the last of the tide gates. This is a fairly large outfall. You might be familiar with this outfall that happens north of North Esplanade into the Hudson River. We're creating a fairly large tide gate here, tide gate structure that is requiring a lot of piles to be installed. Pile installation is moving quickly there. It's gaining some momentum, and we're hoping that a lot of the noisy work can be finished by the time Stuyvesant starts again in the fall. And with that construction, bike lanes will be rerouted and pedestrian pathways will be reworked slightly, but access will be maintained throughout construction. And just a highlight here, we are again working with ArtBridge to install art along the fences. So this is one stretch that's already been installed at the end of North End Avenue as you enter the North Cove Marina. So you can see this is a view looking west at that installation. But more art will be installed in the coming weeks.
Are you going to have the art near the district as well? Because the fence is really close to the side area.
Yes, I believe there's an art fence installation planned for that frontage as well. and I can give you more details as to the schedule, but it should be in the next few weeks.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Can I just ask about, since we're talking about that little fence area, there's a lot of really blind, sharp turns on very narrow areas.
Yeah.
Where you have people who don't get off their bikes, strollers, runners, walkers, babies, whatever. And I have never once, anytime I happen to walk through there, seen any security.
Oh, that's a good question, because this is typically not an area patrolled by Allied, it's typically patrolled by FIS. Now, I noticed I walked through there,
Or here too, like in this picture,
But the narrow turns,
well, along the marina.
certainly along the marina, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Now, I walked by there today, and it's now, you can't get any further than,
Can't get far.
you can't get far, and so there's fewer turns as a result, but there is still very narrow areas, and I saw some woman nearly get knocked over by a bicycle, where there are signs that say dismount, but
Yeah, I've seen,
so, what, I'm assuming, well, Patrick, your guys don't, or do they patrol in that area?
We don't cover that area. We don't feel secure. It's supposed to be that area. We're supposed to have one security there to tell people to dismount.
Yeah.
I don't know about,
Well, they do sometimes, they just don't all the time.
I don't know
Don't
about,
now.
the structure is caused there.
Yeah.
But originally, before the construction, it was supposed to have security guards out there telling people to dismount and walk the bike.
Yeah, they used to, but not in this circumstance.
I mean, is that something, Nick or Dan, that you could talk with Brookfield Security about and just make them aware?
We can
Sorry
follow
about
up
that.
over, meeting, and if there's, some TV about security around that area.
Because it affects their workers too.
Yes.
Yes, that's what you're supposed to be.
In and out, really.
working there. That's right.
We had an earlier slide, again, the idea, this is kind of the right way, just in for you and me and Tammy, of course, you've been here for a long time, but when we did our bicycle working group,
Okay.
when we said that, and we've been consistently saying it, fastest north-south route is up and down the bikeway.
Oh,
So,
yeah, it is.
hopefully, as, bicyclists continue to go through and they see that it's not really a particularly pleasurable or spacious area, we'll continue.
Not gonna see the river.
West
Well,
Nile.
now they'll have to take their bikes into a building to get through.
Get through,
Right,
because
of
there's no
course,
housing.
So,
You stop.
They're doing it.
but yes, I can follow Brookfield with no concern came up.
Yep.
At least until that area is, closed up. And then we open.
All right, go ahead, Dan.
Next,
Oh, I'm sorry. I got you. Yep.
no, it's okay.
All right.
Okay, and now just a bit of information on outreach and engagement.
I can take, you want to take this one?
Sure, Nick, take it.
So to the right, you have, we will regularly update buildings with, work coming up in a particular area. Michael, you know, he was here, he believed this more early, had an engagement, but we are regularly in contact. And, regularly doing leafleting and building lobbies as well about upcoming work. We have a series of meetings going on, with buildings in the south. Again, these are not initial meetings, these are additional touch points like, hey, we were last year, that's from the months ago, we want to let you know now that this particular work is coming up. Pretty impactful in nature, here's what you expect, here's what you'll see, here's what the experience will be. So we have, the buildings along the south and in cases where it applies, and in the north, being scheduled and probably, as well as some of the buildings that have happened. Yeah, we attended association recently, I imagine, we talked last about coming back to you, I guess, in the fall.
Yeah.
After Labor Day, based on where we are, we covered over the summer. And ongoing project coordination with a range of city agencies and obviously stakeholders, including said Brookfield, CCHPT, our community board, elected officials, the budget advisory committee met on 17. The fifth meeting, next one's coming in the fall, et cetera. And we have our BPC drop-in summer sessions. So we scale back now to Tuesday evenings, but it's Tuesday evenings right in the south, Joint Director Place to noon, 5 to 6. So it's happening each Tuesday through September 1st. And we have a list of our meetings that are going on, including this evening here at the Battery Park City Committee. And we'll be to the EDC for the LMC quarterly update on September 15th. That is essentially a focus, I think, on drainage. But that's something we wanted to schedule for a while. It'll just be us, it'll be EDC and DDC and a range of agencies involved in coastal resiliency projects across the swamp of Florida. And with that, that was it. So if there's some questions.
Okay,
Jeff, I'll turn it back to you. And thank you, Dan.
I'd like to
Thank you.
start with a couple of, well, some mitigation issues and some, I don't want to characterize the issue, but one issue that's been reported to us is that in some areas where there are construction barriers, lots of garbage seems to be accumulating. In particular, in like Chambers, River Terrace area, I was emailed some photos today of like an old television dump there, an old BBCA sign. I didn't get a chance to walk it myself to see it myself. And I don't know to what extent some of this might be regular building garbage that now it's simply being, because some of those places are close to buildings, but if you could, have people patrol the areas, make sure they don't become dumping grounds because it looks like a construction site and people who start dumping stuff near construction sites. So that's issue number one. On the mitigation, some are kind of simple and maybe it's solving itself with this area around Brookfield being no longer a throughway. But we've had a lot of problems on South End Avenue with runners.
Thank you for that. I raise my hand.
Aggressive butters.
And
And we've got enough opportunity.
Nick, of course, because you're all figures across the street, that segment of South End Avenue between Liberty and Albany on the west side is a lot, it's a grocery store, there's lots of things, bus stop, and it's not a very wide sidewalk to begin with. I've witnessed it and certainly heard a lot of complaints about runners barreling down South End Avenue. And the situation doesn't get much better between Albany and West Thames with that sort of arcaded area where the sight lines are not good at all.
And then we've got the scaffold on the east
Now
side.
you got
That's right, it's a mess. Yeah.
And one of these buildings. What I was going to suggest is that as people exit on Battery Place from Wagner Park, if they're running along the water on Battery Park, they'll come out on First Place, or what, I guess it's First Place,
Wherever they
the
do.
Battery Place, that maybe signs should be directing them to the Greenway, which is really a better place to be running than South End Avenue anyway. But if they are going to be on South End Avenue, directing them to the east side of South End Avenue, which has wide sidewalks and not nearly the kind of pedestrian traffic in a narrow place. So that's that mitigation thing.
So like the bicycles, obviously, runners ideally on the Greenway, but if they have to stay on South End Avenue.
Should runners,
Sides are wider.
Yeah.
should runners be on the green?
There's a walking path.
Yeah, there's a walking path. Yeah, they should be where the walkers are.
Okay, but not where the bikes.
No, it's a bifurcated,
Two separate
it's a
lanes.
bifurcated, yeah.
Yeah, can I comment on that?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's not gonna do anything.
Yeah.
And I say that as a runner.
Yeah.
And as watching runners run past that small sign of detour this way.
Yeah.
I've seen them run directly past into the alcove and hit that gate. And then turn around and run back,
Yeah, exactly.
run past the sign. It's not,
It's not facing them.
right now, for runners, it is, and my wife is doing it, it is marathon training. They're going to go where they're gonna go, and a lot of it is running on the roadway. Because we have to run on the roadway. So I don't think that detouring them now is going to make a difference.
Running on the roadway, which means running on the sidewalk.
The traffic.
Running I mean, yeah, you'll
Yeah,
see
yeah.
a lot of people rain, just
that-
go up, whatever, but I don't think adding a new sign now, when runners are doing it 5, 6 days a week, running a specific way, especially if you know that distance and it's going, you're not gonna change.
Yeah. I
Well,
mean,
although what do you think about been naturally redirecting simply because Brookfield is not closed. They can't run through there.
They can't run through there. I mean.
I mean, all you have to do it is once and you'll realize that you can't go there.
Yeah, I mean, unless you like close it off. Right. You're not, it's not going to.
Just as many people run south on that stretch of
So could they come
sidewalk.
back?
Yeah, come back.
Right?
They go back, they go out.
No, you come back. Oh,
Yeah, I usually see them running south
Yeah.
and like, I don't know where they come from.
Yeah.
Well,
But-
before they were coming from around Brookfield, but now they can't do
You
that.
can't do that, right? You
But
need
they
to
haven't
be down.
disappeared, so I don't know where they're coming.
That being
Maybe
said,
They are.
Knowing a handful of runners who are training right now, they understand that this is not the
That's
best.
ideal. They don't wanna be
And they
running by
wanna
us.
change and go, they'll go down to the battery, go to the east side.
I mean, I leave it to the experts in running psychology.
It's they're gonna, if you know something, you're gonna keep it.
You're not putting the zones, you're not paying attention, but still, the more sign, I mean, the signage is something.
You can put the signage there, I just don't, it might make a couple people.
And also well, you said that the fencing off in front of, TJ Clark's is gonna open up soon, right? So we'll be able to go down North End and come around that narrow part of Brookfield onto South End.
And that's.
It's a good flag, so if you're, and I know because I walked this couple weeks ago, I wanted to get my eyes up, stand, right now, if you're walking by where PJ Clark's is, you can't exit the side of PJ Clark's, you can come inside Gateway, inside the field, and then exit on that side entrance, and you can walk then south, all around the field and out onto Liberty and south, that's right. Once the area, then, correct me if I'm wrong, once, in a few weeks, when that area is kind of trained and the fencing goes right up against Brookfield.
Yeah.
You'll have to only be indoors, but that door on the side of PJ Clark's will then reopen up, so you're able to go out to North End.
But you still can't get through them.
But you won't be able to get from outside, you'll have to go inside Brookfield to get from north to south. Dan, is that right?
That's right. That's right. In practice, it won't change much because there will still not be a throughway on that west side of Brookfield. But an area in front of PJ Clark's will open, and in front of the Winter Garden that will close. But there will still be no through path
No
for a
way through.
pedestrian or a biker.
On the outside.
And so then my last issue is my favorite one, the dog issue. On an easy part of it, I need to talk to you about location for the Halloween parade.
Okay. Great. But it's the Halloween dog parade, that's a must have.
It's a must-have, and maybe it's Wagner Park might be the only place that works.
Okay.
But I'll separately talk to you about that. I continue to get concern from, well, people like Jill, who are used to using the Kowski dog run. I think we should reestablish the dog owners working group, and we sit down and just have some discussions about what alternatives are practically available to.
Fabric for the community.
Yeah, Jill, would you be willing to be part of that group as well?
Yeah.
Yes.
We
Thank
want to try to get creative and have this conversation, so yes, let's have a conversation.
We're all very sad about it. The dogs actually had a reunion at a different park. They were just.
All right, so I'll be in touch to reconstitute that work. Okay, those are my mitigation.
All right, that's helpful.
Question.
And I will, at least get the wheels turning now, people's minds for the dog parade location.
Yeah.
Because that again, talk about fabric.
I mean, it's not that far, and we normally are.
It's not, it usually happens at the end of October.
Yeah. Other questions, comments, Mark?
My understanding that Sarah and Laura's team is doing the air. Can we get a little bit of understanding of who's monitoring vibration, particularly now that construction is much closer to the residential buildings?
Innovators doing the one,
But who's innovating reporting to?
Battery Park City Ground.
And will that be made public or, how's that, can you just give me a little bit of understanding that we can share with the community on how that's been monitored and what actions, if any, and how they're responding to it?
Not offhand, but I can take the vibration question back for you.
And let me just add on to that. So Nick, in the In the EIS, vibration is dealt with primarily as kind of a noise disruption issue, which it can be.
Yes.
But a lot of the concerns that we've heard are really structural safety issues. Gateway having the one building being built out over the platform and the work being, almost immediately adjacent to it. And then there are several other buildings down the Esplanade that are in a similar situation. So the comfort I think the community wants is that there is some monitoring going on that would alert to any potential for structural
Yes.
disruption. And similarly, what kind of structural analysis was there done to give assurance that these buildings weren't going to be damaged? And, it was the recent 5-year anniversary or however long ago it was, so that building collapsed in Florida and just last week. And then I read today that 222 Broadway or whatever is shut down because of potential for, it's another residential conversion. So people are kind of sensitive to those issues. I'm assuming that kind of work was required to even get the building permits in the first place, but it's opaque to the public.
Okay, if it's helpful to you, and we do this regularly, Dan, you as well, and we make an effort to keep record using our website timely and accurate. We can put something, I think, on vibration, I think it makes sense to do, like, but just make sure I'm getting the language right. I will say, we try to keep these presentations not super long, but we have a lot of slides that we haven't get this.
Yeah.
And there's a slide up there that I know we have like 1,000 permit slide where it says like all the different agencies you had to work through. Cold comfort to someone who's actually living it, but rest assured, before permits are issued by the city of New York, there's a lot of things that have to be done to make sure that the city of New York is signing off on this work, which incidentally is done all across the city. Doesn't mean that it's affecting your life, we just simply like to ensure.
Well, especially when in the news,
Right.
Yeah, you're good. Right, yeah.
And then you're getting bombarded by stuff that's literally happening, so yes, I think we can do, let's see what we see around the vibration question. That's a bit.
sorry to interrupt, Mark. I think you have other questions.
So that was,
That's a really good point. And
Just-
the
Yeah, go ahead.
sooner the better and being, aware, then people get scared.
and if I just throw in, I think part of the other piece that's unsettling, particularly for those in the 375 building, which is, Jeff pointed out, that's one that's partially cantilevered out
Yeah.
over the water. That's also the one that Hurricane Sandy did flood and had seawater in the basement. And we all have a sensitivity to how the seawater erodes, right?
Yeah.
So, and I'm not sure what permitting, I think just some assurances that, certainly the permitting was done appropriately. But I would expect, or I'd like to expect, that there is some ongoing inspection over a 4-year project that cracks start slowly forming and getting bigger, et cetera.
That last earthquake, we
Oh, yeah.
really felt it.
Yeah, like, so it was going.
What was the last one?
Okay, I think.
Also,
Yeah,
when you
just-
think
just-
about-
Just if I can make a couple points here. So each of the buildings along the alignment had a pre-construction survey to monitor visually any cracks that might have been there. I want to tell everyone that we're very sensitive to the vibration issue as a lessons learned from the South Project, where we had to deal with the Museum of Jewish Heritage, which obviously had a lot of concerns about vibrations impacting their exhibits, for example. So we're very keen and sensitive on the vibration issue, and similar to other types of monitoring, we have alert levels and action levels. And my understanding is not even an alert level has been reached yet, but we continue to monitor that, and any alert or any action level obviously would be mitigated.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
That's good, and a good point about the Museum of Jewish Heritage. We've
Right.
done this before.
Yes.
You've done this before.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
I think that's it on this item. So.
Thank you all for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan.
Happy birthday.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you. I'll tell
Thanks.
Ruby you all said it. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
Bye, Laura.
Does
Thank
Dan
you.
Lapson in the end up? I just saw a little face, Dan Lapson. I don't know, I just saw the, she means make like the old face.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, Diane, I did not notice your hand. Can you?
Yeah,
can you-
hello,
Go
can you
ahead.
hear me?
Yes.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. I made a little face because I didn't know how else to get attention. Uh, So that was great that you noticed it right away. Anyway,
Sorry.
Dan, I was gonna ask you, Independence Plaza is supposed to have a meeting on, I think it's Friday, with Battery Park City Authority
Yep,
and
I'll
the
be there.
owners of the building. Would you be there? And are you gonna make a
Yeah.
presentation like this there?
Yes, Diane, I will be there, Dan will be there, Michael Ryan. the
Oh,
construction
terrific.
liaison, will be there. So yes,
Okay.
and I was, spoke with Karen as well, I know she scheduled it, but I wanted to also touch base with you this week as well to go through any additional items you want us to cover, but yes, we'll be there, and we'll have a presentation.
Okay,
similar
great.
to the sort you saw.
I just wanted to throw in 2 cents here because, Vornado is planning they want to build a 72 to higher tower in the middle of Independence Plaza. And one of the things that came up was the water drilling. They mentioned that they'd have to go down 40 feet. Does that sound realistic to you? 40 feet into the water underneath
I wouldn't want to
Independence.
hazard neither an engineer or someone who's familiar with the project, I wouldn't wanna.
No, but ask it maybe of Dan.
Yeah,
Friday.
I could virtually do that.
They're going to be doing this at the same time, I believe, as when you're going to be getting to. The reason that I'm here at the meeting for the members here is because the end of this whole project ends at Independence Plaza across the highway to one of
Yes.
our side streets. So, we've been involved in talking about whether we agree with some of the plans that are being made on the streets on the other way, on the mainland, as I call it. Anyway, I'm glad that you're coming and you seem like you know a lot, and this was a very good presentation. So thank you very
Yeah,
much.
then we'll be there for sure, and thank you for flexibility in scheduling, so you're in that list of the other buildings being scheduled, you were in it, so what's happening?
And Diane, thank you for your feedback too, because when you have concerns and issues, please come tell us.
Yeah.
Tell Jeff, tell Eric, tell me, whatever, so we know what's going on, because you're right, you're the mainland, and it's not like we forget about you, but,
Well, yes, Diane, check I know you're not in Battery Park City, but check the Battery Park City Committee agendas because within the community board, we're the ones dealing with the construction impacts of the project, and that includes its effects outside of Battery Park City.
Yeah, I
So-
appreciate it. I mean, my experience with Battery Park City goes back to the No More Nukes demonstration that happened in the 70s. So it's always been an
I
important
was
place.
there as well. When we were
Those were the days.
those
When
were
it
the
was a
days, that's
beach.
right.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
beach. But anyway,
Yep.
thank you so much, everybody, for all your work and
Thanks,
Thank you,
Diane.
Diana.
dedication. Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, and I'll go through this quick, Jeff, thank you, and then we have Pat here at the end, so,
Yes.
just kind of a victory lap as it were, what a magnificent Fourth of July, I can't believe we caught that picture, that's a real picture, but that's a beautiful tall fifth passing the Statue of Liberty with the jets flying overhead, just
That's really
amazing
cool.
Fourth of July here in Battery Park City, and I know we did a fair amount of work, in the lead up to it, both with the community board and kind of trying to open some areas. And I think it was, knock on wood, if there was 6 or 7 people, bearing in mind that there's work going on. I think, we had opened up as much as we could, pulled back some fencing and took some tarps down, and I think that folks had a really nice time, of course, Fourth of July, so it was really very nice, special historic day. This is just kind of a rehash of some of the high level points, so I won't belabor it again. But we have the tie gates with Theater Albany, other ones ongoing, and then a high level timeline. For the purpose of, kind of being repetitive, I re-put in the picture of the wayfinding. And it will continue to be a pain point for the people who are aware of it. Jeff, I have a follow-up from Brookfield that I will take back to them. And then obviously I want to do another plug about drop-in sessions. And then a plug to click on there, Zach has the actual digital version of the document, sign up for updates, and then We have a bi-weekly construction newsletters, the next one's gonna be coming out tomorrow, to every other Tuesday, oftentimes Mondays or holidays. So look forward to our next newsletter coming out July 20th. Okay, and then I will link to the presentation once this report itself is posted. Okay, on the south, obviously, just some highlights of the pictures we just went through, see stone wall, stone floor wall, Pollard, Peoria Plaza, on the edge of the battery, and Battery Park, and then battery landscaping installation. And then just a quick rundown of some of the events that are coming up. Our final Woodland Blues is this Thursday night. I can't believe July is almost over, but it is. Obviously, West African dance. BPC Repair Fest, this was a fun thing. We ran one early this year, but I don't know if anyone has experience with that's on Sunday as well. If you are a hobbyist, you have an old piece of jewelry, an old watch, some textiles, etc. We'll have some experts on hand. With some pointers there, we can stop by the farmer's market before or after we go out. So that's coming up on Sunday. And then I always put a plug in for the blood drive. I always say Battery Park City is extraordinarily generous, and a lot of people here are the pig Christians because they give blood every time. So thank you for doing that. It's really important. We appreciate all the donations that folks make. It's a really nice partnership we've cultivated over these years with the blood center, dating back to during COVID. So it's still going, and we're glad to continue to be able to fund and provide that. Very briefly here, obviously Esperanza is folding, it's coming up on August 8th, and of course, one of our staples for the year is the Battery Dance Festival, as we all know. That starts the 10th, which is a Monday with a workshop, and then performances each day from the 11th to the 16th. So I would paste the schedule. Some change, of course, but at the Battery Dance Festival, it's the 45th annual Battery Dance Festival. And at least I did the last 42 of those have taken place here in Battery Park City. So really a very special time of year, and that's kind of the Battery Dance Festival week here in Battery Park City, as it has been for time in Illinois. Or at least for a few decades back. And then we have two coming up at the end of August. Jeff, maybe this kind of goes into the Dogs on Lawns. I put that reminder go beautifully every month. And then I will turn it over to Pat, if you want to forward it to your report for the month, and then we can open it up and so you'll see Jeff's thing.
Right, for June, this year, we had 3 reports dealing with graffiti. I was dealing with the Berlin Wall, it was monitoring there. We had 56 reports dealing with the homeless. Interactions with the homeless, was the farm property, we had 8. Parkers, we also had 8 reports concerning that. Vendors, 7 reports, that's pretty much the one with the ticket vendors and, down in that area, we also dealing with like a hot dog vendor and that stuff that was crossing over the Wagner Pond and we had to hold them up to the sides. And then dogs, we had 27 reports this month.
Is dogs, it's gotta be related to resiliency, right?
Yeah, it's a good nowhere to go.
Because I mean, I took a picture of this, of like 3 dogs on the Rector Park West little area, standing by the no dog sign.
Oh, and they know that they're not supposed
It's right there.
Oh,
They're just standing there.
I know, yeah, they.
But I mean, the areas are closed and then
So much is closed, the whole middle area, there's no dogs or skip.
We'll come up, right? We'll come up,
No, but-
we'll get to that.
Yeah, that's one reason we need to put that group together.
But then I may throw this out too, is that even in the kids' playgrounds, today in Rockefeller Park in the playground, there was dog poop in the little.
yeah, I mean.
In the, by the way, the littlest kids are, the farthest to the north, it was poop. It was gross. And, you know, we reported it, I'm assuming at some point, facilities maintenance came and cleaned it out. But,
So basically what I did, I had,
more bathrooms for dogs and people. We need more places for dogs.
I had hired somebody to work midnight to 8 in the morning, so that there's no lapse of coverage of the Rockefeller.
That's why.
So that's why there was an increase in the dog reports. Okay, and because he was up there and moving them. And of course, there's always 1 or 2 people that are still gonna try and come back, and that's what we're dealing with. And I also have now a police officer working with him so that,
You got
she
Rockefeller.
can get a ticket.
What about West Thames Street, Thames Park, I mean, you got, we get some.
West End's, we're in the Rover. We're doing it as part of a Rover,
Mhm.
you know, going along because it's just.
Yeah, we have the AstroTurf field,
Well,
Like the
let's see if
playground.
we can work to relieve the pressure.
yeah.
One of the issues, Pat, that was raised to me was, and it seems to be reflected in your issues, increase in homeless people sleeping in the parks. Somebody reporting that a couple of people were flat out on benches in what we call Penny Park, at least what I call
Penny Park, yeah.
It's a small world.
You know,
Yes.
yeah.
The real world, yeah.
Yes,
The
yes.
real world park, yeah.
And I mean, I know you guys have various efforts to refer them to services, but I mean, what's been
It's-
your luck and what's the protocol when someone is laying down on a bench? Because I see that in the southwest.
Basically, I have the safety ambassadors going to ask them to sit down. Yeah, you can't take up the whole bench. Okay, and then they're supposed to ask them, you know, do you want services? And that if they say no, we're gonna call 311. If they say yes, we have the number to Department of Homeless Services, and we'll give them a call direct.
And when you call 311, what happens?
311, we're just registered
Registered, okay.
because dealing with Department of Homeless Services, on the call that I deal with Downtown Alliance. The woman that's on there from Department of Homeless Services says, listen, the more calls that go to 311, the more you're gonna get somebody to come up.
Got it.
I think our greatest challenge down here is, getting them to get out of the car.
Getting our homeless
Okay.
services to get out of the car.
Right. To go. I mean, there's really 3 people that they were gone and we were free of all homeless and then they're back. And 2 of the 3 used to live here, from my understanding. So, you know, one's the female.
Yeah, I know her.
Right, and then the other one's a male that's up in Teardrop Park. Very educated person when you talk to him and that stuff, but, you know, and the thing with him is he's being helped by people in the community.
Mhm.
Like the Poet House and that stuff, all help. I even had, Department of Homeless Services, I gave them the manager's name after speaking to him and number for them to call, because they were like, well, can we call the manager? And I said, yeah, let me get his name and number and see, and they cooperated and spoke to try and convince the manager to convince this person to take services.
Mr. Wade,
You know,
oh my.
not re-
Well, I know it takes a lot of
It helped
touches
when it
anyway.
got, right, it helped a lot when it got really cold. And then when the cold left, he showed back in a snowsuit,
Oh, okay, well, yeah, all right.
okay? So, that's what we're dealing with, and over by the ball field, we have, a young gentleman that also appears to be homeless, but, you know, you speak to him and he moves and he goes, and you know what the deal is, once the, as I still call it, the soup kitchen opens, he gets here at a certain time in the park, but they won't on. Okay, because they're going to get a meal. You know, but all 3 come back.
They come back and they sleep here, ish.
We keep sort of moving them, you know, because the
know that-
park closes at 1.
You know, the people on the South Esplanade, there's the man with the suitcase and the woman with her suitcase.
Yeah.
That they sleep there. You know who I'm talking about.
On the southeast, yes, yes. You know, I have people checking, you know,
I just
like our
check to see
dead,
if they're breathing.
right. We have our dead ends, right, in the Esplanade,
Yeah.
right? Now Albany has opened up a lot more, the path, but Rector and the others, and we gotta watch South Cove.
Yeah.
Because South Cove is a dead end. And, in the daytime, as you can see, the runners run into it, there's a big sign that says dead end. They run in, they go around, they loop around, and they run back out. And same ones do it every day, and same loop. But at night, we're going in there and looking, because we've had the homeless go into the area that Parks calls the wild, and going out there and some of that stuff, and, so it's a constant look at night. It's unfortunate, but, we're still dealing with it.
No, just to go back on the garbage issue, so yes, we have our parks operations controls, and then obviously the project team from construction areas guided. To look at you to do that, if there are particular instances you see, just give me text, I stay in for all the time, and I'll clear it, right, folks, either it's us, the park, or it's the project site, or it's the building super, case I can
Yeah.
just be like, hey.
I mean, the particular location that was pointed out to me was Chambers near River Terrace, but I haven't gone to either.
Yeah, I didn't see a terrible mess, but by the construction, what they're saying, it's like almost by the fence.
They've been taking care of such a thing, but I hear they won't have their homes.
And this is someplace else trying.
All right, we do have one more item on the agenda that doesn't concern you guys. Well, maybe. Yeah, yeah.
1 second of it will, because I have a new one to mention if I.
Oh, actually, I have one to mention.
Oh, that'd be
Well,
good.
maybe- oh, maybe-
Sorry, just a quick thing if I may.
Okay, so.
It's about Little West Street
Little West.
and the repaving.
Yes.
Okay, so.
Let's just do it.
I know, well, back and forth. It's come down to,
Well,
what have you determined? Because you've read the statute, now 3 people have read the statute and contract.
It's an agreement, but.
Yeah.
So there's, let me, I mean, yeah, I know, Nick, you've heard about Little West Street.
Yes.
And we did put in a budget request last year
Mm-hmm.
for DOT to repay it. And their response came back,
That's a PCA problem.
exactly, that's what their response came back, and it says, send PDCA. There's what we found is that there's a lease agreement, Little West Street belongs to, is, city, it's not part of Battery Park City's property, it's outside the property and belongs to the city. And in 1991 or thereabouts, city leased it to Battery Park City for the purpose of building, like building the street.
Yeah, building the street, building the building.
Once it was done.
Yeah.
Once it was done under the agreement,
Back to the city,
the
right?
city, not necessarily giving back to the city, I think Battery Park City Authority still has the lease on it. But road maintenance was with the state, with New York City, according to the lease agreement. We're gonna put in the same budget request,
Thank you, because I was
This
gonna ask
year.
for that, yeah.
to DOT.
Can we cite that agreement and
And I
link
plan
to
to
it
cite that
somewhere?
agreement, but the question that I have for you, Nick, is if I give you the agreement, can you confirm that it is in fact the most recent agreement, that there's not some agreement that is superseded?
I tried reading this too a little bit as well, and I know in terms of some work, so send me what you have, I feel that matches our latest understanding of the most recent document.
Okay.
From a layman's perspective, yes, I mean, DOT's great, I'm not throwing shade at their sister agency, they just.
But they keep pointing at, you
Well,
say
and that's
it's
frustrating for you all too, because.
we have a contract or the lease agreement that says. it's
Yeah, somebody probably did some memo on it way back a long time ago, that DOT has in its files that that's, oh, this has been leased to Battery Park City Authority without parsing through all the provisions. It says, yeah, but once it's built,
It
make.
goes back, well, let's get that in front of the DOT, now does that kick to Betty's, the transportation?
Well,
Let's see.
Betty and I, you could, I'm glad for you to take it over.
We send it to me,
Whatever.
and I will marry it with what research we've done on our. end.
And let's put Betty on the chat, 'cause you have the actual agreement, Zach has the exact.
Yeah, I'll
agreement.
copy.
I don't have the actual agreement, I
Yeah.
trust your reading of it.
Yeah, I don't remember the last email I sent, whether Betty was on it or not.
I just don't.
I was, and since my committee is responsible for DOT items,
Yeah.
other people can contribute, but it's still gonna run through us anyway, so it's just good to know.
Yeah, good.
Check with Zach, because have found that Danielle has been very good about working with the milling and paving team. So what the team says as a response could be quite different from what the Borough Commissioner's office
Yes.
could get done.
Yeah, okay, okay.
But yeah, but if we've got, you know, again, I'm now just wanting to get it fixed because it keeps, you know, this has been, how many years have we been having this? thing?
Yeah, believe me, I.
Yeah.
And it's driving on it, walking on it, it's dangerous.
Okay, so for the purpose of district
We
needs,
want a whole repaving.
for the purpose of district needs, this apparently went in through the transportation.
It did, yeah, with
Right,
Matt and
I
stuff.
know I put it on.
Yeah.
We had the resolution.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
So we have from Zach here, our other district needs from last year. So let me just give you time frame. These are due in October or we're gonna finalize them in our September.
Yeah, so timing wise is this meeting, we take a look at any that need to be removed, we do that. And then start thinking about adding new ones at the September meeting. And then finalizing that in October with a ranking in October.
Okay, all right. So, yeah, you can.
So right off the bat, you can see the second one,
Yes,
we accomplished.
that's right. We don't need the environmental
Get
monitor.
rid of that.
Thank you, Zach. The others, I mean, we have very few because we have the wonderful Battery Park City Authority that meets most of our fiscal needs for capital improvement. So
That's a nice send off, Jeff.
yeah.
People wanting more.
Run away.
Thank you. We'll be in touch. Thank you, Mark.
And whether or not they meet those needs, the city's not going to. So,
Somebody's got it.
somebody's gonna do it. So the items that we had last year, the first one in the list is basically redesign, is funding for redesign and reconstruction of South End Avenue. This is kind of an artifact of ancient history, but I think we all agree that South End Avenue could use improvement. So I'm not inclined to take it off. We may want to think a little bit more about specifically what we want done with South End Avenue and be more specific in our proposal. But I think we want to keep that on the radar. And the other thing that I understand about, I'm gonna be going for that budget training in August, so I'll know more about it than I know now. But from those who have taken the training, including this guy,
I
haven't
haven't
taken
this
the new one?
year, but I have in the past.
It does make a difference, simply because something gets rejected one year is not a reason not to put it in a subsequent year. But the more specific you can be, the better. You know, if you just, I mean, think of it in terms of these city agencies are trying to figure out their budget for the coming year. And part of what they want to spend their money on is their perception of what the city needs. And part of our job is to identify, you know, what we think the city needs in each of these departments. So, okay, that speech out of the way, and I'll give more of a speech in September after I've done the training. So the next item is the environmental monitor. We don't need that anymore. We've got that.
Sorry, can we just go back to this, cause their response was talk to Battery Park City.
That is a good point. And maybe we don't have them. Maybe we want to put that on the September agenda so that we can have a discussion about South End and try to come to some consensus amongst ourselves, what we'd like to see done there and try to get the authorities buy-in for it. I mean, maybe a little tight to hit everything. I mean, they've backed this idea of redesigning South End Avenue in the past. And I think they probably take it up again if they thought we wanted it. We didn't end up liking, well, pandemic interfered and then the world changed and the needs changed. The last time around. So remind me for the September agenda, we should include South End Avenue. We find South End Avenue.
Would that mean this?
I think we'd still put it in though. I think we put it in.
Because wouldn't the funding be better for the city?
I'm pretty sure it's DOT that's supposed to fund it, but these DOT streets, I mean, Betty would know better. So Betty, the south streets are all city streets, right? Other than
No,
little,
oh, south, yes, all but
all but Little West Street.
through West Street, it's in the
Yeah.
north where a lot of them are.
So, okay, next item is designate Gateway as a NORC.
They said they have no money.
You know, the naturally occurring retirement community. We need to do a little bit of homework of what that means.
I agree, and the other bachelors, there are quite a few people that need assistance there.
Yes, yes, I mean, and thanks to our good work in getting the
Yeah.
QRS agreement extended, more and more people are gonna age in place there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does
Look
that
at that
what
there.
does that do?
Well, I mean, as I understand, I mean, Zach, do you know about what goes with being a NORC? I mean, as I understand it, very services are made available
Which would be
to-
wonderful.
to basically support it as a retirement community. Now, what that means at our income levels, although QRS is not necessarily high income, although they're not super low either, but
I don't know how, yeah, I don't know how.
We should, okay, we need
We-
to
we-
investigate.
Yeah,
that.
because I imagine there has to be some sort of average age in order to do that, and the young people who moved in there are gonna bring that down.
And there's money.
It's true, but if there is a identifiable cohort that is reliably old.
Unfortunately,
Yes.
a lot of people are still there, probably old by now.
So that's that item, and then we put our tried and true affordable housing, what we put last year. Fund affordable housing protections in Battery Park City and establish a program with the aim of increasing and preservation of permanent affordable housing in Battery Park City. Reference Gateway QRS expiring, that's not true anymore. Affordable units and these various other rental units are diminished and
Yeah.
so forth. I think we should keep it at, I mean, it's, actually, they didn't reject it, they said, please reach out to HPD, so, no, indeed.
Yeah.
So we should put it in and we should follow through. With the agency.
Very important.
Other ideas that any of you, okay, Joe?
So do any of you know what childcare for moms going back to work, say they have to put their 6-month-old or 3-month-old in Battery Park City, what it costs?
Yes,
Yes, you do.
yes, I do.
It's over $4,000 a month.
Until they're what, 3? Is it
Three.
$4,000?
Well, now it's two K.
Can you get
Oh, well, you
2K for free? No.
He's implementing, or.
They did start from, I think, 6 months on. So I'd like to put something about affordable childcare, talk about the number of people.
For a struck, because that's insane amount of money.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, and it's like,
Extra post-tax.
Yeah.
$50,000 a year, so they can then go back to work.
Jill, are you on Quality of Life Committee?
Yeah.
Maybe this goes in there.
For them, yeah.
I think it's a wonderful idea, but I think it may be more their jurisdiction.
You could go on every single.
No, I have no problem putting it in, but it's not a Battery Park City.
No, it's also a five issue. It's
Well,
the
yeah,
whole-
because Battery Park City only has 1, 2,
Youth and
3
education.
Might have been you thinking.
down in the south part.
Yeah,
But then you cross the highway to find it, that's where my daughter goes to TLE.
so I have
So
to find out.
that cost is different.
I've just been learning about this, sticker shock.
Yes.
Yeah, so. No one can afford.
I mean, I think at
Correct.
one point with the 2 kids that I had, I was paying more than double my rent just to put them in school.
wow.
Wow,
We're at the last year. She's in 4K now.
Yeah, she's so fun. But you're still, so wait, so you're still paying it though, or you're not? It's not,
Yeah, I mean, you pay the after school, so I don't have
Oh,
to pay, I don't have to pay that, but we do.
no, after school was, but yeah.
Yeah, so you get up to, I think it's 220 is dismissal.
And
Free.
then of course, then you
And
get
then
that.
you pay for after school.
But it's not crazy like that.
It's, I mean, we're paying 16 for one kid.
Fun. A month? Where?
The learning,
The learning expense, Manhattan Youth is cheaper, I think.
Manhattan Youth
I used to be cheap.
is cheaper through 276. It is cheaper. It comes out to like 550
Yeah.
for everyday things. But yeah,
Which is not cheap. I know.
I mean, compared to the
But-
6,000 we're paying,
Sounds like it.
it's fantastic.
Yeah.
But yeah, it also keeps going.
Groceries, let's put on, are we a grocery desert? That's, what you think of groceries?
We just have Steve, yeah.
We just have Prestigious. We are a little bit, I mean, like, would be nice if the other Prestigious would open up. Or something else, like, yeah.
Trader Joe's.
Yeah, Trader Joe's.
I'm not sure where that fits into the budget unless we want one of the new city-owned grocery stores to open up.
I don't know if they'll go for that one, and I don't blame them if they don't. But,
I mean, that old Mercedes that closed at West Thames and
yeah, that's been a,
that was going to be another grocery store and then COVID hit.
and then COVID hit.
They were changing it in the. in COVID. And then they just let it go.
Mercedes in Gateway, before they renewed the lease, Gateway was in discussion, the Rough Rock was in discussion with Trader Joe's. I think Mercedes decided to renew.
Just the name. Too bad, but that would be nice if that other Prestigious became Trader Joe's.
But I think it's owned by Mercedes, so I don't think.
Trader Joe's?
No, the other
Yeah,
space.
it's like Trader Joe's.
Well, they might have let it go.
By this point,
I know.
you would think they would get that money in it. Would they,
No,
they
they-
been blank and empty?
God, that would have been great.
In order to make sure there's no competition.
Yeah, for Mercedes, yeah.
All right, then, yeah, and I guess you.
I honestly.
I know, that's a good point, that's a good point.
Amazing.
Any other, I mean, we have, we'll think again in September, think over August. Email me if you have ideas that you're afraid you'll forget by September, email me. At Eric and Christine.
Yep.
I guess. You got it? Okay,
Thank you.
we are adjourned.
Thank you very much.